Okay. Gianna pre-ban, Wajep pre-ban. Gianna's somewhat interesting. I think Spires doesn't really care about Gianna being pre-banned. Wajep pre-ban does make a lot of sense. Wait, I'm actually gonna do it slightly differently. Okay, let's look at these matches. Early Shizuka, I don't like Shizuka, especially not into a cigar. I'm not too sure what you're signaling with that. I do like the Laura, especially, I do like the Juno, especially if you have that Laura on the field, but I'm not sure if you should have just slapped in that Tian Lang earlier, because playing Tian Lang plus Laura, I don't know. Yeah, Shizuka win rate is just terrible. I really don't like Shizuka. I also told him he does like Shizuka. I would say Shizuka's kind of a sacky unit, but what do you play into this? I don't know. Like, I feel like this really plays in the favor of the draft of Truo. Definitely do like that Kinky with a Riley in there, but I also feel like that if you ban that Kinky out, there's little to no damage on the side of Spires. I'm not sure if you can survive all of the damage that Truo dishes out, especially if you have a Marsh on the field. So I would say Kinky ban on the side of, or from True Will. On the other side, I would say you probably have to respect the Masha. Because Shizuka in this whole draft doesn't do anything, I would say. Whereas the Renuki, fair point. But yeah, I'm not really sure about that Shizuka though. That's the only iffy thing I see. But maybe they are seeing something I don't see. But Kinky has to be removed, like 90% sure. And Truewell does know that Spice is a good one, yeah, respecting those both bands. Yeah, the big thing is Truewell has a lot of AoE damage, and I'm not sure if Riley is enough to withstand that. And that's going to be the big question. Like, Truewell doesn't have any sustain, but Spires has probably some difficulties of keeping the uptime of those units in the field. Strip everyone, okay, would you go S2? Still goes S3 because it's just so much more damage. 2.5 to 3Ks. That's already... Yeah, after the Tian Lang moves, all of the units are pretty much already dead on the side of Spires. Full attack bar resets. You don't even have to go for S2 right now. You can just cleanly go for an S1. And S1, ooh, armor breaks as well and procs. S2 would kill. Oof. Oof. Oof, yeah, this is game already. There's no way you come back from that. That's the thing, like, all of these AoEs do just so much damage. That is just so freaking much damage, and there's not much that you can do against it. And that's the thing, that Shizuka's not gonna help you against that. Oliver's not gonna help you against that. Riley plus more sustain units would maybe, but... Tian Lang going once again double, but that Tian Lang is doing so massively much damage. Okay, Oliver via procs, but... Can you recover from this? There's still speed buff on that unit. You can recover the speed buff, but there hasn't been any stunts. I think it's pretty over, yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, Shizuka doesn't do anything in this whole match. Shizuka can only give back a bunch of stuff. We have a good amount of progress on the side of Vio, but would definitely still say that True's in the driver's seat because there's just no damage. Like, if you had a full-on damage Oliver, it would have been dead by now. That's one thing. But it would have had the option to do some damage here to the whole team. But yeah, like, reviving this, you do decent damage, but that's not really going to add too much. So yeah, I would say game is kind of over. But then the big question is for Spires. Next game, you have to play the Widget. This is all the way best of 5 straight up. So we're having best of 5s all the way. So it definitely has a chance to recover this match as well. And I think if you pick something different than a Shizuka, because a Shizuka in the draft already signals saying like, okay, you take the turn 1, I'll go turn 2. But you need some strong turn 2 situation where Shizuka actually makes that high value. And in this whole draft, Shizuka, there's just too little damage. And that's the big issue on this draft, I would say. Okay, maybe a little bit of comeback potential. Resisted on the cycling, that's not too great though. The cycling is definitely something you need. Probably goes for skill 4. Goes for skill 3 is higher healing, but skill 4 would have made it more difficult to strip on the side of the Moor. Yeah, the Tianling is the main damage here. Like, the moment he lands armor breaks, procs again, because the procs on the 27 are on the side of True Will, and you expect them to happen at some point, so that is just so much damage, and that's going to leave the battlefield for that Shizuka as well. And that's definitely going to be game. Yeah, the big factor in this whole match was just simply giving all of that AoE CC plus all of that AoE damage to True Will, while just having a unit that doesn't counter it by a passive, because Shizuka's not a passive unit, Shizuka is a turn 2 unit, but not a passive unit, just really makes it very difficult to come back from. But yeah, definitely a difficult round for Spires, absolutely, because True Will, once again, what do you ban? What do you pick against it? I'm not too sure about True Will's Gianna pre-ban, though. I don't think Spires cares too much about it, but I think Spires should have aimed for picking that Tian Lang earlier. Because the moment you pick that Tian Lang earlier, you pretty much deny the Tian Lang. I think Spires has to win just because of the beard. I agree. Kinky pre-ban. Yep, that's a more respected pre-ban that Spires is not too happy with. Because True or Spires definitely likes to play around that Kinky. In this case, does True actually go for the steal of the Tian Lang? No, does first pick Wajet. That's actually somewhat odd, because if you pick Wajet right now, Spires does not have a Wajet. Spires can easily Tian Lang something right now. Or does he go Chiwu Cigar? Chiwu Cigar is also definitely an option, but if you go Chiwu Cigar right now, you're giving that Tian Lang once again to True Will. Like going a Tian Lang, yes, exactly. Cigar Tian Lang, I like that, I like that. Let True Will think, like True Will's reaction, that's also the cool thing about these live games. You can see True Will's reaction was like, okay, I respect this draft, this was a solid draft. Like, just that little hat nod of that was just respecting that draft. CP and the Masha. CP is nice. Masha, well, actually both of them. They're not really saying too much about this draft yet. However, Spires does have to pick up speed. If he goes for Chiwu right now, I'm not sure if you want to go Gianna though. Gianna is pretty decent into Wajet, but you would need that speed lead. So Chiwu has more value in this case. Chiwu Sekhmet, I like it, especially if I land those heal blocks. But the heal blocks are somewhat difficult to land. Goes for a Carnal, so we have the double Slayer, double Bison combination right now. Pretty strong on the S1s, but once again, Masha has that immunity on her passive, so you're not going to do all too much with those unless you have the Chiwu S2 landing. We have the Moor. As far as I know, the Moor is very fast, and that's a Shan as well. The Shan is pretty dangerous. Double speed lead on the side of True Will. Do you match the speed leads, or are you still going to play turn 2? And with that turn 2, you're banning out, I would say, the Shan. But what can you pick to make that turn 2 a favorable draft? Leo, okay, Leo, you're banning the Wajet. And then on the other side, the Leo's gonna get banned. I'm not sure if you want to take that trade. I'm also not sure who would take first turn here. Is that a Swift Moor or not? Because if the Chiwu is in there, the Wajet is out of the field, the Chiwu might be fastest on the battlefield. We actually have the Shan removed, so okay. Is that Chiwu going to be fast enough? I am not entirely sure about that part. How fast is that Chiwu? We have the Moor outspeeding and we have the Wajet outspeeding. Okay, doesn't land too much right now. That's actually pretty huge of not landing jack shite over there, because you have to S2 right now, kind of. Does still go for the S3, and this is going to be quite some damage from the Masha. How much can you hit? Decent damage, but actually less than I expected. So, do we go for the head? But probably on the Masha. Yeah, you have to go on the Masha. Provokes across the field. Very nice. Definitely something that Spires can use over here. How many stuns do we get over here? Because that would be nice too. Slows, we only got one slow. That is not too much on the side of slows. Having some more slows on that definitely would be beneficial. If we go S1, Armor Break, S2 like Truel did in the first round, would be a lot of damage. Doesn't get that damage whatsoever. We can go AoE Glancing right now. Doesn't get the AoE Glancing, but some good damage from that as well. But we did not strip the Marsha. Okay, goes for a kill on the Marsha. Do we go for some more provokes? Marsha without the beast is going to be pretty deadly. Okay, the more didn't get provoked. Not too much damage. This thing is swift, so it cannot stun. And now we have S2. Do we do a lot of damage? Do we do a lot of stuns? Pretty decent, not too bad. However, we still have that Widget healing. So every time that the Widget takes a turn, and that more S2 is probably how much? 2.5? 2.5, that's a lot of damage as well. And Tianlang does not like that damage. Tianlang is most likely, ooh, that's a good procer. That's definitely a good procer. But are you going to tumble full damage in? Does tumble full damage into that? Carnal, you need to have your skills back up to make this a victory. Definitely need some Carnal procs back at it. Decent damage, no provoke though. Let's see. Also, everything on the side of Truel just does so much damage. And you have that sustain on the Widget. S2 with Glancing on the 2 fire units, not gonna land anything, but definitely does land it on the wind unit. Yikes, not looking too good for Spires over there. Cardinal, you need to proc, you need to stun everything. Well, let's see, Cardinal, can you do anything? Nope, Cardinal could not make it work. And that probably makes it 2-0 in the favor of Truel. I definitely did like this second draft of Spires a lot more, but it just shows how strong a Widget is. And also how strong the draft of Truel is with that Jean in there as a last pick and all of those kind of units. It just makes it very difficult to draft into in general. Yeah, I would say if the Cardinal would have gotten more slows, not even the stuns, it would have been decent. But yeah, this Mortis just doing crazy amount of damage. It's on Swift, probably pretty good additional damage speed artifacts. Yeah, the outspeed, but the outspeed on both units. So that's the thing which Spires is fighting as well. He does know pretty much everything he drafts is most likely outsped. Because he was outsped by both units that were supposedly speedy on the side of Truel. So, yeah, difficult. And yes, it's best of 5. Going back to the same pre-bans on the first round. Gian and the Widget. Spires, do you switch it up or you still go Oliver first? Does go Oliver first, okay. I think you're handing Truel the Tianlang again, because Truel can answer with M. Bison and... Okay, goes for the Laura. I think Truel would have been stronger in draft right there. No, not back to the Shizuka. I have no clue what you're doing with the Shizuka, man. I'm not sure about the Shizuka. Yeah, because you're gonna get... what do you draft here? I think this is such a bad position to put yourself into. I'm really not sure about that Shizuka. Like, the second draft looked something winnable. It was difficult, but it looked winnable. This draft didn't look winnable at all. No, no, your Kinky's gonna get banned. What's your Shizuka going to do? I don't know, man. If we go exact pre-bans, I don't know. Yeah, he's literally running it back. We literally have, like, the same as round 1, which... I don't think this is going to be any different. I think this is not going to be any different. That's going to be a difficult take, because the moment the more strips 1 or 2 things, doesn't strip the Shizuka in this case, but that's the thing. You have backup strip on backup strip on backup strip. Yeah, like, while you're trying to protect against that with a Shizuka. Okay, in this case, maybe we don't have an S1, S2. We have an S1, S2 again. Wow. Okay. That you did run it back and you both get S1, S2'd? That's pretty unlucky, though. I gotta give him that, but that is pretty unlucky. But in the end, even if your Juno would have survived, you couldn't have done shit. Like, I don't know. I don't think you would have. How all of your units were half HP? No way, man. Nerf this. You get this unit off the field, man. Yep. I was gonna say he procs on that again. What? That Laura took 6 turns. Does anyone understand why this unit is close to 60% win rate? Oh man, that's too bad, man. That's too bad. Rift Spires meant 3-0, and I must say, clean wins from True Will. Absolute clean win from True Will. But wow, damn. Maddie's highest rank, 32. I'm actually somewhat surprised about it. I thought it would be higher. Hey, King Ari, wait, stop being on your phone and start watching these matches. Happy to see you as well. Say hi to Thompson and JMac and whoever you're next sitting to. I'm on mute. I know. We have the Nikki first pick, okay? Let's see, Nikki Moore. What do we go for? Praha, Juno, do you want to go for it early? Juno is not too bad early on. But I'm not sure if you want to pick it this early, though. Please don't go Shizuka kind of stuff. CP, okay, fair. Solid pick. That's just a fine overall pick. Zephyr could go into a speed lead like Oliver Sekhmet would be pretty strong right now. Chibu is an option, maybe not the greatest. But speed lead, okay. Do we end that with a, hey gang, I like it. Oliver Band, good point. Wasn't looking at the band. But yeah, we have to, I definitely do like the Vanessa Hey gang over there. Because Madrimdi cannot really play his normal playstyle right now with like Prahas, Junos, that kind of stuff. So you would have, maybe Madrimdi goes for a segment? Or does Madrimdi go for like a Raccoony kind of draft? I'm not sure. Or does Maddie, do you show something different? Still goes for the Oracle, still goes for the Doomon. I'm not too sure if the Doomon is slightly somewhat on the early side. Raccoony? I'm not too sure about the last 2 picks of Zephyr as well. I would have really liked to see Zephyr go full into AOECC with that last 2 picks. I think, yeah, because in this case, the draft looks somewhat favorable because the Doomon is already on the field. The Doomon, Zephyr already says, I have to ban that Doomon. And if you already have to ban that Doomon, your draft just becomes a lot more difficult. So I am not sure. Yeah, I was just working on turning down these guys. Should be better right now. But yeah, oh, and Yonimusha, definitely a good pick as well. Probably easy ban on either Hey Gang, but you could even say that you just ban out the Nikki and you're probably decent / good to go. Other side, you have to ban the Doomon. I would say that the Onyuki is not really something that you have to be too afraid of and therefore ban. So I'm not sure about the Onyuki pick in general too much, if it's like super great of a pick. I would have rather liked to see a Cigar in that 5th slot. Or a Ganymede maybe even in that 5th slot. But let's see. We do have respect on the Hey Gang. That does also mean that Zephyr doesn't have a strip. But you have the strip of this. So you have an S2 into an S2. Which is actually pretty deadly. Okay, Raccoony moves next. Didn't get the setup though. And not getting that setup is pretty detrimental. Because you can go for skill 3 right now. It will do a decent to good amount of damage, but the CP and everything is moving next. And you needed that strip. That strip ain't there. Even if you proc, you're not going to kill. It's close, but you're not going to kill. Doesn't have any healing on the side of Madrid. The units are not looking too lively. But how much can you do to get rid of them? Plus, Onyuki S2 actually full heals. If you go S2, you land a bunch of armor breaks. Lands 2 armor breaks. That's going to be a lot of healing for it. Onyuki nearly full HP, procs full HP, and that is so much healing coming from that unit straight up. Goes for the finesse. Also, the Camilla. Camilla into a Onyuki, or you know that someone picks Onyuki. That unit in there, I'm not sure. We are going to see, yes, can Lil land the Curse of Death, and that unit is going to be taken away from the battlefield. Even if... Wait, how much resets did he actually land? He landed a lot of resets on that Vanessa, though. But, okay, we get some procs back. or not procs, we get some turns back. Okay, skill 2, you're gonna freeze it. Oh, you're gonna kill it. 2.23k, that's a lot of damage. Wow, I like that. So getting rid of... would the team of Zephyr be too sustaining right now with the Camilla and everything in there? They're looking not that lively though, because the Camilla, you can take out the Camilla right now, and you're pretty much good to go for the rest of the match. So, Juno, how much can you do? Are you going to hit that Camilla though, or are you going to spread the damage a little bit more? Because spreading damage right now is dangerous. And that Kami does do a lot of damage. Okay, we had 1.8ers. Oh, that heal of the Raccoon on the procer though. That is some huge ass heals right now. If this thing, would it go for proc? Does it go for proc? Armor breaks. You need those armor breaks. Does land the armor break across the battlefield. That's going to be nice for the Juno. You're going to pick up a lot of damage from the Juno that way. But I'm not sure if you're actually going to be able to kill stuff right now. Okay, you can kill off that unit. Yes, 2.7, so that's definitely nice. But you're going to have a lot of healing. And the moment that Dumon is frozen right now, Dumon is going to be high res. You should not be able to land this on the Dumon. Does not land it on the Dumon, as I mentioned, high res. The moment that the Curse of Death lands, it's going to be no more healing for those units until the Dumon leaves the battlefield. If you land the Curse of Death right now, Madrindi is pretty much like sealing in the victory. Does he land it? Does land it. Okay, if you just tumble in more damage into that Camilla right now, match should be GG. Because I don't think that the Camilla has enough damage right now. Because you have to proc once to get your S2 back. If you would have procced, you would have been dead already. So match is pretty much over. And Dumon actually worked a lot better than I expected. But it was also because I didn't really like the draft of the 4th and the 5th pick of Zephyr. Because the 4th and the 5th pick of Zephyr pretty much said like I cannot deal with the Dumon properly. And that just makes a Dumon that was drafted actually too early suddenly an insane high value you could pick. And I definitely do like the Madrindi 5th pick because the Onimusha felt a little bit off. But then again, into a Camilla is very strong because you don't crit it. You keep the debuffs on it. And yeah, that's everything of Madrindi is fast, does a lot of damage, that AoE CC fits it. So in this case, we cannot see a first pick, or we have the first pick going to the side of Madrindi. But then again, Zepha's going... I can try to predict what Zepha does right now. It goes completely off the rail. Doesn't matter anyways. He pre-bans the Nikki. Wow, respects the Nikki. But we do have the lore on the side of Madrindi right now. Madrindi can also open with Oliver or something like that at the moment. But I'm not sure if he still wants to go for a Water Ryu Changpong style into... Let's go for Oliver. Okay, Zepha. Probably still... Oh, can't go Vanessa. Wait, are you going to go Jamai Shizuka? Yeah, Jamai Shizuka. I'm not really sure if Madrindi cares about it. Because you just go in with like Juno Raccoon or something. Or Juno anything. He's definitely going to Juno in here. You could even Laura Juno, Praha Juno. All of those comfortable picks. Yeah, Vanessa pre-ban is somewhat okay because Zepha uses a lot of Vanessa. Especially if you pick 133, you ban the other 33. Definitely does work out. Okay, goes for the double speed lead. Has the more in there already. I guess Zepha doesn't really play too many oracles, so Maddie could pick them up later. But Zepha, man, is hard to predict. No clue what kind of draft. Goes for Gianna and a Song Shang Lao. Okay, I would 100% Juno right now. That's definitely a thing. Well, what do you pair it with? Because you could definitely be outsped here on the battlefield. However, I don't... Hey gang, definitely nice. Hey gang, Juno would definitely approve that at this point. Could go for Raccoon, maybe, but I think a Juno would do a lot more in this case. Let's see what you have. Goes for an Ethna. Okay, still goes for contesting on the speed. I am not too sure, because the Songchang Lao could have the fastest runes of Zepha. Zepha likes to do weird shit. That could be one of those weird shit things that Zepha likes to do. But Zepha would need a speed lead in this slot. And the only speed lead left over that kind of fits is a Chiwu. You could go Tomoe, you could go Tablo, but those don't really fit too much. So it doesn't even go for the speed lead, so the whole speed thing that was contested is not really there. Okay, you could ban speed lead on the side of Jemire. Yep, expected that. All the band came in too fast, couldn't predict it, but would have been a lot of options that are pretty decent. The armor break is gone from the side of Maddie, so it will have quite a bit less damage. First turn going absolutely to Maddie. How much can you do? Okay, does strip everything, but doesn't stun anything. Do you go for an AoE S2 right now? Yes, definitely would go for it. Stuns everything except the Shizuka. So you can go very simply for a skill 3 right now, stuns it as well. Okay, big question going to be, what do you reset? Probably that Shizuka that's going to be the most deadly, but you also have to reset that left unit, the Carnal. Carnal also reset. Yes, okay, does anything proc out right now? Because that's the thing, if anything procs on the side of Madrimdi or on the side of Zepha, you could flip the battlefield pretty fast. Pretty interestingly enough, decides to go for the Laura. I don't think Laura would be the main target. Madrimdi going another cycle. Misses the S2 on the Zhongsheng Lao. And missing that on the Zhongsheng Lao takes another turn away from your cycling and gives this potential for going S3. Do you land anything through glancing? The unit is crap. It's actually on fire. Interesting. Doesn't land anything whatsoever. We were saying that Trua was doing a lot of damage on his Ryu, right? 2.5s. This Ryu is doing 2.9s. That's a lot of freaking damage. And look at the amount of sheer AoE damage that's just coming out from just the Laura and that more. That's just... wow. Yeah, and Zhongsheng Lao, I wouldn't recommend to play it in SWC. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Unless you want to lose, it's not worth it. I don't like that unit, man. I'm biased against that unit. It's so crap, man. I tried to make it work on every kind of given situation. S2 is 2.9. How much can we give? 3.3. Holy shit, he did so much damage. He had glancing. Even without glancing, he would have like minus stunned. He doesn't stun. Shizuka always lose. Fair point. Shizuka always lose. Guys, do not pick Shizuka. That's the only thing I can get from all of this SWC. Do not pick Shizuka. How about Chiti and Desheng? Pick that one. Very strong unit. But yeah, we're looking at the very quick matches right now. Yeah, these morts are doing a lot of damage, man. Holy shit. What about Bing Chilling? Who is Bing Chilling? You mean the unit Chilling? Is it quad additional damage both sides? Yep. Both sides. There's no accuracy S2 on that shit. Are these CR, CD Morse? Probably just speed attack. Could be speed CR attack. The John Cena meme, I know that. He speaks Chinese. He goes for the Washihun. Bing Chilling. And the only thing he says, I like ice cream. We have the Gianna ban and the Laura ban. All of her first pick on the side of Zepha. Zepha hasn't been showing too many super crazy stuff. Well, okay, no, the Zhongsheng Lao was super crazy stuff and it was not great. But I want to see super crazy stuff with the light Ezio, that kind of stuff. But I think it's very hard to draft in a light Ezio into Madrimdi because Madrimdi is fast as fuck. We have that more being first pick though. More, what do you pair it with? Could go for an early Nikki, but Nikki is open for both players. Goes for a very early Juno, but Juno is never really a wrong pick in the side of Madrimdi because his Juno is just incredibly strong. Zepha, what do you have? Do you go for an early Nikki? Goes for Miles Raccoon. The common draft. Miles Martian, okay. Slightly different. Should you go Juno high rest to avoid death break? No. No. If you have a little bit of rest on your Juno, it's fine because you can actually shake off a few things to not land, like 30-ish. I would say 25, 30-ish. More than that is not worth it. Another Domon coming in quite early, even though there's no sustaining units on the side yet. Okay, Ethna, let's see, what do you bring? And a Raccoon. Okay, so it does have the Miles Raccoon in the end. I'm liking the draft of Zepha. It's very meta-related right now. However, the Dooman that did not really fit the draft now suddenly kind of fits the draft because of that Raccoon being slapped in. Going for something like a Nikki right now is kind of a bad position. I'm not too sure what Madrimdi could fit for a pick right now. Probably he goes for either a Nikki or he would go for the Ongyuki. Because those are just comfortable picks for Madrimdi. But I'm not sure if those really fit too much in here. Yep, does lock in that Nikki. But who do you ban though? And Madrimdi is also not sure. Like the moment he locked in the unit, he was like, I'm locking this in because it's comfortable, but I'm not sure if I want this though. Because the main thing is, if you ban out the Oliver right now, you have a lot of issues with that Ethna. If you ban out the Ethna, you have a lot of issues with that Oliver. So there's a lot of issues both sides of the battlefield of that. But I think Oliver or the Ethna should be the ban on that side. Other side, I could see that the Duman. Yep. Yeah, Duman is definitely a unit you want to remove because Zephyr has seen it before. That is a very deadly unit in there. Thing right now that I can give the winning potential to is Ethna going crazy, or there's so much single target damage on like artifacts damage and everything on the side of Madrindi that's just going to seal the deal. And that stunner there is going to be very impactful. How much damage can we do on this Nikki? I expect a lot of damage from this one. That is quite a lot of damage. Didn't dehorse the Masha though, and that's quite unfortunate because you could do a lot of damage on this Nikki right now. Maybe the Juno. Who do you want to focus on? Goes for the Juno. Can you kill the Juno? Yes, you can definitely kill the Juno because you have the Raccoon moving afterwards. Wow, that's a lot of damage as well. So definitely something that you can heal up right now. I think you should you give to self? No, maybe not. You are probably going to leave the battlefield on that Athena as well. Can steal, maybe stun? Okay, I'm not too sure about that. That's kind of a risk play because if you didn't manage to stun or you managed to proc out, match would have been over straight away. But on the other hand, Zeph is kind of in a bad position anyway. So I would say that this is going to be pretty difficult for Zephyr to come back from. And I think we're going to another 3-0, unless this Masha can go very ham at this moment. But an attack buff more. 7.3k, that's a lot of damage. S1, S2 with a procer on that Nikki. Can you kill it? No, there's no way you would have killed that. And we have a Daydream coming in, and that only makes the damage of this more, so much more. Hehe. How much attack buff? 3.7. Holy shit. 3.7. That's... Ow! That hurts. You're done. You're done. GG's. And we have another third skill coming up. 3.8 or 2.8 is GG's. GG's. 1.8 or 4.1 on the Mosh. That's insane. That's insane. And that was a very quick match once again and a victory for Maddie. And I'm drinking too much beer. I gotta go toilet. Oh, and he needs a translator. Fallen Flower probably tuned into the streams of Reese. Of course. Like, that's not the fault of Fallen Flower. That's the fault of Reese. Like, you can't say... Like, if someone says, like, here are my cards while playing poker, you're not gonna be like, I don't want to look at that. But let's look at this match. We have Wajet, and let's actually lower this a little bit on both sides. A little bit over here, a little bit over there. Oliver first back into Carnal early. That's a pretty early Carnal, but definitely do like it with a Laura. Could go into Juno, Prahas, those kind of units. Could maybe go into a Hey Gang as well. Definitely does fit. Does go for Juno, Praha. Very nice. Other side could go into that Hey Gang right now. Hey Gang, Sekhmet? No, not really. I would definitely go for the Hey Gang. But do you want to match it up with Spieglies? Chiwo doesn't really fit too well. Vanessa does fit well. Actually goes full Bruiser with a Riley and a Kinky. Takes one out of the book on the side of Spires. Other side still going for AOECC with a Theor and a Jean. I definitely do like those units which do really fit the playstyle of Reese, but definitely does not really beneficially fit the playstyle of Fallen Flower right now. If he locks those in, Fallen Flower is going to go for that Leo. Leo's going to be picked and Leo's going to be banned. Other side, we have the Sean being going to be banned. Let's go with that. Hey, Sean banned, Leo banned. I predicted this from a mile away. I would say that Reese, depending on how much damage your Theor does, you can win this, but otherwise it goes to the side of Fallen Flower. Let's see what we have. We need some proper S2 strippers. Does not land on the Riley, which is also the most difficult target to land for Oracles in general. Does land it on the second try though. Oliver can go free reign on that right now. Okay. Does go for the... Ooh, does get the cycling with the procer over there. But that is a slight bit of luck that was needed there. Reese, can you actually land everything? Okay, goes probably for the S3 on the Laura, yes, doesn't get anything on the Cardinal. That's pretty bad, though. However, you still have... Ooh, doesn't let any provoke, so Oliver can go back with the cycling right now. Definitely do liking the position that Reese is in at this moment. Once again, does not get the pushback, but gets the proc to get the pushback. But you proc, I proc. Ooh, that's not one of True Will's. That is not one of True Will's, because that one would have taken 6 turns. But I definitely do see that... I would say that's slightly too bit of an early heal. But you have to control... Oh, that's definitely a way to control a Riley. That is definitely one way to control a Riley. That definitely does help. But in this case right now, you kind of have to go for that S3. Does still go on the Riley. Does land it on the Riley this time. We do see Cardinal. Can you proc back? Does not land. Probably 100% resistance Oliver. And Oliver goes for, once again, a proc. Every time that Oliver goes for... Oliver proc so many times already. Does that mean Kinky is going to proc? Very likely. Very possible. Very potential. Kinky, do you go for proc? Kinky does not go for procer. Definitely in the favor of Reese at this moment. Looking very lively on all of those full ATBs. 2.1s could be better, could be farming some of those artifacts, but definitely not too bad. 2.3s definitely are something that's strong, and that's taking one unit out on the side of Fallen Flower. And I think another unit would finish quite soon after. Lots of damage coming in. Kinky, I don't think you can solo this. Finally landing that provoke, but a little bit too late. Is going to get frozen here, and that probably takes the victory towards a Reese, which... Pretty nice victory, and I definitely would have said that a Hey Gang would have solved a lot of issues here that Fallen Flower had with that match, but very well played by Reese. Yeah, I think these Theors should be on high accuracy. Like, if you want to build and use a proper Theor, you have to have that high accuracy in there. Let's see, Wajet is on the field this time, and we have Laura out of the field, Jean out of the field, and I think that's definitely in the favor of Fallen Flower, because the Wajet on the field is just so impactful. But let's see what Reese has kind of answered there, because you can't really use those oracles into a Wajet. And does Fallen Flower? Fallen Flower actually goes for a first pick on that Oliver, answered by more segment. Okay. Probably not a CP on the side of Fallen Flower in this case. Could steal out the Juno maybe. Could go for a Wajet. But if you wait too long with a Wajet pick, Wajet might not be favorable in the draft. So I would definitely slap in a Wajet in the slot 2 or the slot 3. Yes, does go for it. And or going in with a Juno as well, I would definitely say that that helps quite some. But you could go for something like a Miles or something. That's definitely goes for the Cardinal once again. Didn't really do too much last game. Kind of had issues with landing those provokes, but gives it a try one more time, probably on his better runes. Other side, what do we go with? We have a bunch of options still here. We could go back into these Oracle units, but not too great. It goes for the Miles Raccoon. Pretty standard, pretty typical pick. Pretty one of those picks. It's never bad, it's never wrong, but it's also never exceptionally great. So let's see what that can draft here on the field. I would definitely say that Fallen Flower has to pick up some water units. Could maybe go for the Praha himself to go into these drafts here. Goes once again for... I'm not too sure about a Leo into a Raccoon. Most likely your Leo is also going to get banned out again. And goes for a Verdehile. I would say that you have little to no damage. I would definitely... Yeah, that's definitely something you can just easily Douglas. Or you can just easily throw any kind of water bruiser into. And the match would probably be in your favor. So I'm not really sure if I'm liking the draft of Fallen Flower here too much. Douglas definitely has to be respected and has to be banned. On the other side, you have a whole scala of things that you could ban. So I'm not too sure. Definitely lock in that Douglas right there, son. You know it works. Banning out that Leo, banning out that Douglas. We do have an immense amount of cycling going on the side of Fallen Flower right now with that Verdihill plus the Wajet. But is it going to be enough sustain? Because we have the Raccoon on the other side. We have first turn going to that Segmat, and we have the Wajet. Maybe, no, I would probably go for the Oliver Cardinal. Goes for the Cardinal. Cardinal still has that S1 that always has high value, simply because of provokes. Resets. I would probably go for the Raccoon rather than resetting the... but if you take that Procer, it definitely does work as well. Not too much of an issue. Let's see how much damage. It does do a decent amount of damage. Are we on a crit rate slash crit damage? Definitely critted both times. So probably is looking crit rate or crit damage. Big factor for Reese here that maybe be a winning potential is that Shizuka skill 2 with the Curse of the Beautiful, landing a lot of those debuffs. That's definitely something that he's going to need. We don't have a skill 2 right now to stun out that Vert. Does go for the Vert. Does get a double counter. Can you stun it right now? You definitely have to stun it. Does not stun it, but does do a good amount of damage. And that more might actually take out that... Well, that's not going to take out the Vert, but they got a whole chunk more of that damage. And that's actually a lot of damage on that Vert already. And we have that Miles only needing like one more turn to get it, but not if Carnal can say something about it. Would you go for the skill 3? Does go for the skill 3. Does not land a single slow or a single stun. Does get a counter once again, however. And does have the attack break on him right now. Attack break is slightly going to heal him. 3.8, there's definitely some healing that you can definitely use. And let's see if this Carnal, okay, proc once again, doesn't proc. S2, you need to land that heal block. Does get the heal block across the board. That's a really insane value for Reese right here. But that Raccoon is looking a little bit dire right now. And we have the Carnal move. The Carnal has the skill 2 up. So I would say that this is looking pretty bad for Reese right now. Because if the Carnal goes for as strong as 2 into that Vert, can he take goodbye of that Raccoon? No, Raccoon actually lives. Raccoon lives with a sliver of health because of no glancing hits in this case. Next unit to move is going to be that more. Afterwards, it's probably that Widget. Or is it the Widget? It's the Oliver. Can you do enough damage on that Vert right now? It will probably counter on you. So do you take that chance to maybe stun it? Does take the chance on the Oliver, lands the stun, but actually get procced out. That is insane value right there. Do we get this S1? We push back for great value. Do you do enough damage? No, you have to go for that Carnal right here with the reset. Does not land the Carnal reset, at least not fully. Does land it a little bit, but not fully. In this case, can we get some healing? Do get some healing. Would you like to push back the Oliver? No, goes back, or not the Oliver, the Miles. And Miles takes away the Vert. That's a lot less cycling right there. You have to probably push it back. Because if you do not push it back, pushes it back, crits, lands in a 6k, actually kills it. If you get rid of the Miles right now, if you get rid of the Miles, the game could be over. Does not decide to go for the Miles, however, okay? Does not want to get skill 2'd right there. No provokes, both sides. Okay, not too bad, not too bad. Oliver, skill 3 coming up. And this is looking more and more difficult for Reese to take back that match at this moment. Yep, that is... Is that actually a damage Oliver? Because I wouldn't say he's doing too much damage, but he's doing quite some damage. Carnal's definitely not landing those provokes. And yeah, this could very well be... Well, we have that... Skill 2 from the Moor coming up soon. Didn't land that stun of what he needed at that case. And we have, yeah, crit rate Oliver definitely could be a thing in this case. We don't see too many of those, but I definitely do like to see some of them over here. And that is the victory for a fallen flower. What's the fire rate on this match? Sometimes it's very high. Holy shit, what the hell did I just pull on my ult? Wow, I got an insane intangible rune on my ult, but it rolled really shit. Interesting. But yeah, that was a good back and forth match. I actually did enjoy that match. Was that a Swift or via Widget? I think Swift. Yeah, Widget skill 1, the pushback. That is like that nasty value always there that just works. Going back for the pre-bans, probably pre-banning the Widget. Once again, on the other side, could maybe go for some of the Oracles on pre-ban. That's for the Oliver. Dark Horse? I'm not sure if Dark Horse is pushback, actually. Let's see, Reese, what do you have? Goes for that more, okay. Fall of Flower. You have that Laura available, you have the Carnal available. That's what you picked in the first 2 matches on the previous round. Do you run that back? Goes for a Cigar this time. I definitely do like a Cigar opener a lot more than a Carnal opener. So let's see. Reese had good answers last time with the both Oracles. Into a cigar, both oracles can definitely still work. Definitely the Pra or the Juno, Praha maybe a little bit less, but I would say that it's still reasonable to draft in both. But I would definitely go for the Juno, maybe the Juno plus the Segment. But you might be a little bit heavy. Good for Juno plus Chimpon. It definitely does fit. On this side right now, Masha would definitely be a fitting unit. Could simply go for a Cardinal once again as well, Cardinal Raccoony. But if you go Cardinal Raccoony right now, goes Cardinal Heigang. Definitely liking that Heigang more because that's something that I mentioned also last game. But I've definitely helped him against those Oracles. But that segment doesn't care too much about Heigangs if she lands her stuff. But that is if. Do we end this draft with a Raccoony because that's just a safe pick, or do we go more into more AoE kind of style of comp? Back to that Theor and the Sean, but I don't really think they're fitting as much in the current comp. A unit that would maybe fit is a Wind Robo, but actually goes for that safe pick into a Raccoony. This side, what do we see? What do we take? What do we have? You could go for an Abellio, ban out the CP, or another water unit, Praha, ban out that CP. Goes for the further heal, probably still bans out that CP, but you can also ban out the more in this case. On the other hand, there's good odds that you would take out that further heal of the battlefield, because the further heal, we did see it crit quite a bunch on wrong element last time, and that's taking a lot of attack bar if you let it through at that moment. Segment could also be a ban. Let's see what we have. We have the Juno ban and we have the Bird ban. Bird ban definitely do understand. Juno ban, not too sure. Maybe he was expecting a Heigang ban and then the Juno ban would have been high of potential, but let's see. Segment, skill 3. Who do you go for? You go for the Laura, Cardinal, Cigar? Any of the three of them is actually very valuable targets. Goes for the Cigar, does manage to land it. Provoke's not going to do anything right now. Where do you drop it? That little bit of damage. Probably just go simple, little bit of damage into the CP. Does go for removing the passive on the more. Is an option as well. Does go for scripts across the board, and that is actually pretty nice pushbacks on the side of Reese. We're going into an AoE skill 2. How many armor breaks? We get 2 armor breaks. That's very high value. Pushbacks, not landing too much damage. I expected a little bit more damage, but still doing pretty good damage. And with that, we already have half HP units on the side of Fallen Flower. So definitely these matches where Fallen Flower does not have that budget. He's really not in the driver's seat. Does actually manage to get resisted on that skill 3 of that segment. Skill 2 does not land a single slow. Did get 1 stun, but the stun is cleansed off. And we have the Raccoony moving twice. So this is definitely looking in the favor of Reese. However, we do have a very nice stunner coming over there from that Heigang. But there's no healing on the side of Fallen Flower. And there's that Raccoony on the side of a Reese. Plus that more, doing some great damage on those armor breaks. Definitely very nice that those armor breaks were landing from the Curse of the Beautiful. From that segment skill 2. The moment that those armor breaks land, you just do so much more damage. And you can definitely clear out a bunch of units with just a lot of AoE damage. And that Raccoony is just pushing stuff up. And just giving more turns. And with that, you probably take this victory to your way. S2 doesn't land glancing on the Cardinals, also slightly less likely to land. Does get double stunner, however, from that Heigang, but I think it's a little too late. And we probably get this unit leaving the battlefield pretty soon. On the side of Fallen Flower, well, I would say all 3 of them. So Reese probably taking, we're not there yet, but probably taking this 2-1. And definitely these matches where Reese has the first pick, where Reese has, or not the first pick, where Reese has the first turn. That's the comfortable strategy from Reese, and that's where he shines a lot. So I would say Fallen Flower, do something to not go into that Cardinal. Pick more speed leads. You have the Chiwu in there probably. You have other units in there. Steal away the more, those kind of things. That's definitely something that you need. Fallen Flower, or on the other side, Reese. Let's see how you can do against that Widget, because Widget is definitely an uphill battle from there, because it's just a very strong unit. Fallen Flower should have farmed 7 hours. No way you did that. Okay, we have the Oliver pre-ban and we have the Sean pre-ban. Fallen Flower, do you steal that more? Yeah, full strip of more into a Hey Gang is pretty nice. We have a first pick with a Widget. Reese probably goes into back to that more CP, more anything, but most likely that more. Show me the candy. Goes for Shizuka. Okay, he lost. He lost. He picked Shizuka. We're done. I can save everyone 10 minutes of their time right now and we can go into the next match. It's 2-2. No, wait, let's actually look at this match. Shizuka on the battlefield. Let's see what it can do. Probably answered. You could go with a Sakar. Sakar is somewhat counted by that June already. Same for the Laura. Goes for a Julian. I haven't seen that unit on the side of Fallen Flower yet, but definitely a very fitting unit in this draft right now. Let's see if this Shizuka can do it. What do you pair with this Shizuka? Because Shizuka only works strongly if you have something strong to also revive. But do you have something strong to revive? We have that CP more. Pretty typical pick so far. Removes them. Goes for the Dark Cookie. Has the Oblivion in there. So you have a spread of the Oblivion. Definitely do like that. Somewhat of in the size of draft. But I definitely do like what he ended up picking up on the field at the end. So we have Oblivion and we have an Oblivion spread into a few passive units. Jogun and Chitian Deshung. Jogun, I don't really like Jogun all too much. We saw Raxet use it against Livert. It worked to a certain extent to go for a single target snipe. Definitely not something that Fallen Flower is doing right now. But Jogun has that scroll trap on that skill too. It will seal a unit and that will take it away for a moment. But the moment it comes back with full attack bar. The moment it comes back with full attack bar, it has all of the skills of it can do something pretty bad to your team. So the scroll trap can be a double-edged sword. We have the ban on the cookie and the ban on the widget. So that's definitely going to be that Sekhmet take in the first turn. However, Sekhmet, you have to control a bunch of units. The main unit you would have to control is probably that Chitian Deshung. Can you land it? Can you land it? Actually, the Laura is... Yeah, the Laura is moving next, but all of the other units of Reese are moving in front of the Chitian Deshung. So if you strip right now, you can push back. Does not land the strip fully, but pretty close to. Okay. Let's see where we go with this skill. You could seal someone away, but if you go for skill 3 right now, you're gonna give attack buff to the enemy as well. So you have to keep that in mind. Does not go for the stripper right now. Does know that the enemy will take the turn later. Vio Jogun. Interesting to see. Definitely interesting to see. Also interesting to see a Chitian Deshung being that slow. Because why would you put your Chitian Deshung so slow? It's not really something you see. We see armor breaks nearly across the battlefield once again. We see some pretty decent damage on that Juno, but that's definitely not enough to take it away. And we see a very dire position for Reese here. And that's definitely not because of that Shizuka, because she did nothing. Could have been a Wusa. That would have done 10 times more. Wusa would have killed the unit already right now. But definitely looking in the favor of Reese right now, especially with the Juno coming up pretty soon. Once again, resets. Next turn, going to... Oh, doesn't land any of those additional turns. Does get the skill 3 right here, but that's probably also the last thing that this unit will do from this. You could go for a skill 3 right here, but probably not something you want to do. Does decide not to go for it. Would you go for skill 2 to actually try to keep a unit alive? Does try to keep the Juno alive. Juno can't not be taken off the battlefield right here and is probably taking off the enemy. Can you get stuns? Gets a triple stun. Reese, don't do him like that. Do not do him like that. Is returned with a stunner as well, but you are looking very dire on that half of that Julian as well. That's the 4th stun in a row. That is definitely very nice in the favor of Reese right now, getting those 4 stuns in a row. That is definitely not looking too great for Fallen Flower. You definitely need a proc or something. Does not get a proc or something. Julian, can you seal the deal in this? We have seal magic on the unit. We have a strip removed. Or we have an armor reg removed. But we also have a unit on your side almost removed. Skill 2, you have glancing. Can you land it? Does not land anything. And the thing that he did land was resisted. So that is definitely not looking in the favor of Fallen Flower right now. Also, Reese taking the proc that that Fallen Flower needed. Takes out the unit as well. Julian. Julian doesn't have the skill 2. Julian, you need something. Julian does not get the proc. Is gonna get skill 2 right now if you land the armor break, and it seals the deal. And we have a victory for Reese. 3-1. Those despair stuns, though. I keep telling it, despairs are more nasty than Vio procs. 100%. Shizuka OP. Shizuka didn't do anything. What do you mean? Shizuka did nothing. Yeah, the Big V was the one that pulled the Krowa, Konomiya, Miles comp into Thompson, yeah. Laura on the side of Big V. Strong unit throughout. Dreams Joseph, how do you want to answer? Do you go AWCC kind of style? Goes for that Marsha, goes for that more. Very typical picks, definitely safe picks. Definitely do like it as picks. V, what do you answer with? Do you want to go that same route that you did before with the Ashar, with the Cigar, Dark Cookie, those kind of units? Or are they too slow and do you need like a speed lead in here? Not really sure if V likes to go pick up like a Vanessa or something, because the Oliver is already banned. Goes for the Chiwu. Chiwu Cigar could definitely be a thing. It is somewhat countered by the Marsha, but Chiwu into goes for an early Kinky. They definitely do like their Kinkies here in America's Cup. We have seen a bunch of them being picked already. Dreams Joseph doesn't really know exactly what to do in that. A Rakuni Miles definitely would fit, but Dreams Joseph talking about missing water units most likely signals into missing that Miles. Therefore goes for that. Goes for an Annabelle. Pretty interesting of a unit as well, but that Cardinal would definitely fit in this case. Definitely not something that Big V can go into Cigar and those kind of units right now. At least I wouldn't recommend it. You could go for some immunity style of units. Dreams Joseph only has one stripper at the moment. Could pick for another unit. Does go for the Shizuka plus a pretty strong water unit with that Xingzi. I am still not sure about Shizuka. I'm not liking the unit, but it is locked in. Dreams Joseph definitely has to lock in another stripper. Has to be probably... Oh, goes for a single target stripper. Okay, could go for that. It is an option. Not sure if that's the best option out there. Praha or Juno might be fitting better. Ethna, not too sure. In both cases, you probably do have to ban out that Kinky right there. But you are also most likely going to get banned on that unit that you just lock in on your 5th slot. Cigar ban, most likely. Other side, I probably expect it on that Kinky or maybe even the Shizuka. We have the Laura Respect and we have that Cigar Respect. Laura Respect, definitely a valid pick as well. This would definitely be the winning factor of how much can more strip or not. I definitely do favor the draft of V. However, if the more decides to strip and stun a whole bunch of units after getting the turn, it could be pretty bad as well, because the more is moving second right after this. It would be nice if something else was moving. Does land the glancing, but only on one unit. Do you get stuns? Get stuns on a very crucial unit. Plus, actually, if you land that slow right now, even the card will move in front of the Shizuka. Lands an armor break and a slow. You can go for the... Doesn't go... Gets a procker once again on the Masha. Definitely looking pretty bad for V at the moment with that Shizuka on the field with that armor break. Do you go for the killer? Probably goes for the killer. Does go for the killer. What can this do? Is it Vio? Is it Despair? That's always the big question about Kinkies. It is something we don't see yet. If it stuns the Shizuka right now, Big V is in really a lot of problems. But is this Carnal going to be max accuracy? Decides to go for the skill 3. Does not land a single stun. And that's very beneficial for Big V in this case. So Big V definitely has to go for the skill 3 right here, right now. Because otherwise, you're looking very grim on all of these units. Get some nice stunners back at Dreams Joseph. Monkey, how much damage can you do? And do you tumble it into the... what do you tumble it into? Tumbles it into the NFL. That's a good damage right there. Does not get the proc out. Skill 2. How much damage is it going to be? You're not going to land it on the more, but you can do quite some damage to the other units. Does do quite some damage, but also not really enough. Marsha skill 2 would still drain the attack bar, does drain the attack bar, and actually goes for critics, which kills the Shizuka, which once again didn't do out too much. You have to stun this Annabelle right now with that skill 2. It is a must, does get the stunner. Also gets the stunner on that more in the process, but still, it's 2 against 4. It's not looking all too great for Big V in this case. Going for a little bit of chip damage on the unit over there. V, can you do the procer of the year right here? And he gets the procer on the exact right moment. And can you actually kill this Carnal with that as well? Because Carnal, you're hitting what? 4K? Definitely is a lot of damage. I think goes for the more damage. 2.4K, still a lot of damage. If you can get rid of the more, it's a lot more harder to strip those units. But that is 1 turn away. That's actually very nice played by Big V of going for that more instead, because it is just hard to get rid of that unit right now for the units on the side of Big V. But there's going to be that opener where you have no invis on that monkey and you would have to kill it. In this case, you definitely have to get rid of the more, because if you don't, that could be pretty dire. Goes for the potential armor break, is definitely a choice as well. Lands the stunner over there, it does get procced out. Are you going to go for the Kinky? Because the Kinky is going to revenge you. It's the armor break and pretty much does more damage than you deal to it. And that goes for both of the units. So definitely right now, do you kill the unit? Yes, goes for the killer. Once again, the procer into the invis. The procer into the invis. The twice. That definitely does rip this match out for Dreams Joseph. And it was a Vio Kinky. But that was some proper luck on the side of Big V taking those matches with the Shiho. Yeah, the last proc didn't matter, but the first proc was definitely a nice one. Shizuka OP, Shizuka didn't do much. Shizuka improved the 5 procs. Let's see how Dreams Joseph can reconnect from that match. We're banning out the Laura, banning out the Hey Gang, so we're definitely going into a cookie match on the side of Big V. Most likely. Dreams Joseph, what is your first pick? Do you go into that Oliver that is now open? Do you still go for that more? Probably goes for the Oliver. Does lock in the Oliver. Big V. Do you steal away that mashup? Do you go for the cookie? Do you go for the Asher? Do you go for the cigar? There's so many options. Yeah, the Shio did a lot of value. We go for the Chiwu plus Cigar, a very typical play from Chinese players, which we have seen before. But also something we see quite a bit more in Europe being picked up as well. Goes for the Juno plus the More. Definitely something you can pick up in a Masha as well, but does lock in that Juno. Big V, what do you answer to a Juno and a More? It's still kind of all-round picks, both sides. Goes for a Ragdoll and goes for a Volantis. I'm not sure about the Volantis into a Juno right here, because you can definitely answer that with units like that Veramos, like a Meiho Wang. Let's see what V has to answer on that. V probably goes for the Dark Cookie on this, but I would say that you already have to ban out that Veramos, and you probably have issues dealing with that Meiho Wang. So I definitely like the draft position here of Dreams Joseph. Because Ragdoll is nice, but you need some sort of healing or like sustain or anything like that to get that in. Let's see what Big V goes in with. Could go for a Pra, ban the Oliver, but I think your Pra is going to be banned, so I'm not even sure. Goes for an NFL back at him. Okay, I'm not sure about the NFL, because with the NFL in there, you kind of have to ban the Oliver. But you pretty much, if your NFL is banned, you 100% have to ban out that Veramos. So I'm not too sure about the Ragdoll pick in the, like the Ragdoll Volantis in the 4-5 slot. Doesn't really feel fitting too well in this case. I think something more along the lines of a little bit sustain in that position would have done a bit more of a safer draft and more valid draft. We have that Veramos banned, we have that NFL banned, both of them very predictable in this situation. But now the Volantis, you need to land some good armor breaks from that Cigar into damage from that Ragdoll to get anywhere right here. And that is going to be very difficult. Chiwu, how much can you glance? Can you glance the Meiwen? Can you glance the Oliver? Glances both of them. That is definitely something you want to see. We do get the Stunner, however, back at that unit. Can we get some AoE provokes? Does get a Stunner, no provoke on the other side, but we have some pushbacks as well. But all of this damage that is here right now is something that Juno is going to heal up in just a second. reset it on the pushback. So in this case, definitely if you go for an armor, I would go armor break on the Oliver right now. Goes for armor break onto the Moor. That's definitely an interesting take as well. Can you stun this Ragdoll? Does not go for the stun of the Ragdoll. How much damage is this Ragdoll gonna do? I know V has good runes, and that is a pretty hefty Ragdoll damage, but we also get a armor break on that other side. In this case, 2 dots on the side of the Juno, which healed up very nicely for those other units. Provokes, do we go more provokes? Do we go more damage? Provoke, a little bit of damage, but that also is a goner for a cigar. More probably going to leave that battlefield as well, but more is not the biggest of issues. The Meo Wang is, the Oliver is going to be. But definitely that Meo Wang is going to be a lot of issues. Ooh, nice sleeper though, but the sleeper is only going to stick for 1 turn because we have that debuff on there. And we have some good 2.3kers from that Juno. The Moor is already down, so you can actually focus your damage into the Meo Wang already. But Meo Wang skill 2 is gonna armor breaks, procs, kills the Chiwu in one go, and that's where the Meo Wang was such a good pickup of that unit. Also, Juno, very good into that Phalantus, so definitely the Ragdoll and the Phalantus, 2 very strong LD units, but definitely not fitting in this draft right here, because this Meo Wang is just picking it up left, a right, and a center. And that will probably make this match into a 1-to-1 with the victory of Dreams Joseph, because I do not see a Ragdoll coming back from this. That is a very difficult position for that unit. Yes, sir. We have the Monkey Proccers, and that is both sides so far. Monkey Business. Monkey Business sealed the deal in the first match. Monkey Business sealed the deal in the second match. Different monkey, but still a monkey. Ban on that Phalantus. I'm not sure if you have to fear that Phalantus too much. It didn't do all too much to you in that side. But the Juno and the Monkey were very nice on the draft of Dreams Joseph right there. A monkey's still a monkey, my friend. Mama Papa. Wait, what? Okay, we have the Laura in for V again, but once again, the Carno and the Moor on the side of Dreams Joseph. Dreams Joseph definitely does like to go into those fire units, so Big V. Do you go more into those water units right now? Because a Praha is definitely a good pickup right here. I'm not too sure about those NFL picks. Like, NFL kind of is okay-ish, but I'm not too sure about it. The combination of them two is pretty nice, though, because Dreams Joseph has as cleanser that NFL. If you pick that together, if you wouldn't have picked the NFL right there, Dreams Joseph would have answered at some point with that NFL. So that makes things for Dreams Joseph a little bit more difficult. Goes into that Raccoony, goes with that Cigar. Definitely nice units. Goes with the Athna. Okay, Athna. V could answer with double fire units and have a solid draft in this position. I would definitely say go something along the line of a Revenge Vert into a Meo Wang could definitely work. Junos could definitely work. Those kind of things could definitely work in here. But he does like to go for that Kinky. Does he go to Kinky plus a Riley that we have seen more before in here? But let's go for that triple Revenge Vert, which I definitely do think is a great pickup in here. And we have the Monkey being on the enemy side right now, and that's probably respected with a ban as well, I would say. I would say ban on the Monkey, ban on the Vertihile, because those are the high threat units on both sides, but also the high dangerous units on both sides. We have a ban once again on the Laura respecting the LD5. But we do have the ban on that She-Ho. So let's Bruiser battle this one out. Athna in a difficult position depending on how much the bird decides to do. Do I have first turn? Wait, that is a Vio Athna, or V is faster than the speed of light. But I think it's a Vio Athna. Does land its skill over there. That's very nice. You cannot go for skill 3 right now. That goes for the capture on the NFL. Does not land enough damage on that NFL. And that's definitely not going to do enough for quite a while. Does get counter from that third. If you go for skill 2 right now, the more it's going to get the passive back up. So that's maybe not exactly what you want to do. Goes for an armor break on that Carnal. That would stick for a little bit. You could cycle this into the Athma right now. But you have to do it on yourself to remove that from the Carnal. Who do you provoke? Do you manage to provoke? Does manage to provoke it, but procs out. And that is a huge proc on the side of Big V. But also slightly lucky on the side of Seiishizo for actually landing that provoke in the first place. We go for a Guild Sprayer, and that heals up everything nice and cleanly. Procker back at you, but a very useless procker in this case. Damage going into that Athna. Athna is very tanky. Definitely a Vile build probably right there. Armor break. Sticking on just one unit. Not too much. And definitely that Athna is the target that has to be the one that has to leave the battlefield as soon as possible. Do we go for skill 2? Heavy damage on that Draconi. Does go for skill 1. Actually wants to wait for heavy damage the moment that he also can do damage on more units with more armor breaks S2. Can you do it right now? Maybe you are on fire or anything. Does not land that many critters at all. And gets a very strong counter. And that actually takes away a lot of the cycling for Dreams Joseph in the moment, and Big V is looking very strong in this matchup right now. You need to land those provokes. You don't have glancing. Gets resisted. Skill 2 is going to do so much damage right now. How much damage? 14k across the board. Actually, a little bit less damage than I expected. Expected a little bit more from that one, but that is definitely still a lot. NFL, if you skill 1 sleep and proc, you're going to kill that Athna. Are you going to do it? Does not go for the Athna, but does land the skill and the proc, and can go for a clean heal here, making the reset of the match, everything full attack bar on the side of Big V, and that's definitely looking very bad for Dreams Joseph. Athna, can you show that Vio? Proc in the S2 doesn't proc in the S2, that would have definitely been needed. Well, not even the S2, because you would have been double counted and leaving the battlefield from that right away. But proc into that S3 was definitely something that you needed, and that's going to be probably the victory for Big V. With another sleeper, with another skill 3 or with another AoE armor breaker, and there's a lot of damage going on. Can we get a procker back and maybe an AoE stunner? But no, Dreams Joseph is like, you take this victory and I try again in the next round. Annabelle's playing well for them, back and forth, both of them. And I just noticed R5 is absolutely terrible. I'm not keeping anything. Like, the drop rates are suck. Holy shit. I totally understand why I don't want to farm R5. Our current girl MVP? I would say so. Nikki has been great. We haven't seen any Rikas yet. We haven't seen any Charlottes yet. But probably also not units we see coming out there. And we see the Laura ban and also a Juno ban. Definitely do like the Juno ban. But in this case, Big V, don't go back into your draft with the Valantas, with the all of those kind of units that don't really work out. And also, come to us, update this 1 into a 2. Give the man the honor he deserves on that victory that he just so well proclaimed. V, what do we answer into an Oliver? Do we go for a more Masha? Do we go into a Sekhmet Plus? Sekhmet Plus, Sekhmet Valantis is definitely not something I would like to see here. You do not have the Juno on the enemy field, so Valantis is a little bit more open. Goes for a very early NFL because he does not want to play into an NFL, which is very interesting. But Dreams Joseph in this case can very easily go for AOECC. And let's see what Big V can answer with that. I do know that V's Sekhmet is going to be incredibly fast. So whatever Dreams Joseph puts next to it, V is going to outspeed up with that Sekhmet most likely. Picks up the Valantis, definitely works in this draft right here. Because there's no Juno on the field potentially. And we have the pickup of that Kinky. Once again, picking up that Varamos. Varamos does work a little bit less in this draft. It's still pretty high of value, but it works a little bit less in the draft. Because you have to pair it up with something else that also kind of do the same thing to keep it into the draft. Because in this case, Varamos 100% going to be banned. But what is your 5th pick, Dreams Joseph? That Big V also wants to ban. If you go for that Mayo Wang right now, or if you go for that Raccoon right now, it's just going to be a ban on that It's going to be the ban 100% on that Pheromos. Big V could actually go into an immunity unit right now, like a Wusa, and then still ban out that Pheromos, most likely expecting that Dreams Joseph would ban out that Wusa as well, because if the Moor would be banned, would be pretty difficult for him as a battle in general. That's for a Nikki. So we see more Oracles, and that's definitely 100%, 1000% ban on that Veromos. Other side, I think we're going to see a ban respected towards that Nikki as well, because that's just so much damage. Heal block is going to do so much. Raguni doesn't really care too much about heal block, to be honest. We don't see any Oracles in this match. It's very cool. We have the Renuki. Renuki. It's the Renuki. Renuki, do you manage it to get into the battlefield? No, it's Veromos ban. 100% must. No Veromos ban? Yikes. I am not too sure about this Veromos ban not being in there. Oliver not banned is decent. But let's see. Oracles, I mean occult girls. Same thing. Potatoes. Thing is, you cannot go for skill 3 right now. And why is Veromos? Wait, that's a Swift Veromos? ¿Por qué? Why would you Swift your Veromos? Pretty interesting. But we have Disperse Stunts. Can we boost up the Veromos right now? Go for an S2 stunner on everything. Pretty nice. I like it. But how are you going to proceed damage from here? You have a lot of potential into that segment right now. But on the other hand, is that going to be enough? Yeah, that's probably going to be enough to kill off that segment. Because you have 3 debuffs. If you land, that's... Ooh, you don't have skills yet. I thought you were going to have skills yet, but you do not have skills yet. Rakuni with a nice procer. Have to stun that NFL once again, otherwise that NFL is going to cleanse off everything. Does get the NFL stun right there. You have to go for that skill 3 here, but the NFL... Get some high value stuns. Those stuns were very much needed on that... Veromos, otherwise Veromos would have just cleansed off everything so much, but the Veromos is still just cleansing off everything so much. That Veromos is definitely something that you have to outband in this match, because it's just, you can't deal with it. It is so hard to deal with, because your main damage output is debuffs. We still have the Kinky on the field though, but yeah, all of those debuffs look real cool, but Veromos eats them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. However, we have some nice counters going in there, but Veromos is going to take quite some turns of all of this. Good stunner once again, however. We have to go for heals, or do you want to go for some damage in there? Do you have your Kinky S2? Does not have... Ooh, can go for both. How about we do both? Can we do a lot of damage? The damage on the side of the V of... it's not too much. I was going to say, like, there's not too much damage on this Kinky. I think it's more of a tanky Kinky rather than a super high damage Kinky. And with that, you just don't have enough damage in there. We have to pass it up for more, so you can stun it, but you cannot kill it. Does decide not to go kill it. NFL, do we go for a lot of sleepers? We have seen these OGs do it before. We could maybe see it doing again. Goes for a sleeper, but doesn't land the sleeper whatsoever. Gets stunned back in the process. So this match is probably going to a 2-2 and then a full best of 5. No, there's no loser bracket. A nice stunners once again on that unit, but doesn't land those armor breaks. But definitely Dreams Joseph sitting in a comfortable position right now with 4 units on the field against 3. Does get the proc, and it's going to be 3 against 3, and that Kinky is actually doing a lot of value, and that's a lot of damage. Also, the units on the field right now, you have to have that Veromos stun to get anywhere, but I do think that Veromos would be pretty good ruined in this position for Dreams Joseph, because he plays that Volantis more often. But the Kinky is actually showing very much strength as well, and taking a lot more damage across the battlefield. The fight is taking longer. We have Rakuni with another proc, not the most useful one. Can we get more stunners? We do get stunners on that Kinky, but Kinky is going to shake that off in quite a second. And the main stunner that you actually need, he takes out the Volantis. But taking out the Volantis is just one part of the battle that you have to do. There's a lot more parts of the battle that you would have to do in this case. Skill 2 doesn't land anything, and we're gonna have that heal up from that. Oh, that's so much healing. 60k. That's pretty. 16 is pretty much full HP. You have to get rid of that Marsha. The moment you get rid of the Marsha right now, it's going to be a lot less damage on the side of Dreams Joseph. But we got more stunners from that Veromos. Veromos is showing why he's the free-to-play unit to pick first, because he's just being very strong at this moment. Marsha not proccing out. Raccoony giving a little bit of attack bar. We need some sleepers. Annabelle, can you do it? Sleep on the 1, sleep on the 2. Doesn't get a sleep on anyone. Annabelle probably gonna leave the battlefield on this damage as well. Goes for the S1 or wants to seal or wants to save the S2 for the moment he gets speed buff. Does do a lot of damage, but it is not enough. Now you gotta hit all of the damage into the Kinky. If the Kinky is not stunned, but it's absorbed on the attack bar. Kinky is healing a little bit every time, but no, the Marsha's doing enough damage to... The Marsha's doing enough. Okay. Ooh, wait, both of them are doing enough. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. You're not gonna kill on this S2. You need an S1 procer S2 to kill anything. You need to hit that on the Raccoony. Doesn't go for the Raccoony, doesn't even kill that, so that's definitely going to seal it for this match because these units were doing too much damage that the Kinky couldn't even get the passive in. And that is something that we have seen a few times already. Kinky not doing enough work. Yeah, I would say that this Kinky was not doing as much damage as I would have seen from, for example, Spice. Spice Kinky did do a lot more damage, it felt like. So we're going all the way, best of 5. And could this be the upset already? Yeah, that Vermos at least had pretty high accuracy because he was landing those stunners. Kinky ban, okay, respect on the Kinky, even though I'm not sure if it's performed that well in these matches. Once again, having that all over band. Time to go Raccoony Miles. Could be an option for Big V. I don't think Dreams Joseph has it. Goes for the Laura first pick once again. I'm not too sure if you have to first pick Laura though. Because right now, Dreams Joseph can comfortably go for the more Masha and pretty much take first turn already. You could go once again with the Chiwo plus something, but Chiwo Cigar into Masha is not that great. Yeah, Valantis didn't do that great. Once again, the NFL, I'm not too sure about these NFL picks, to be honest. I would have way rather seen a Praha being picked up than an NFL. Ooh, we got some heavy brews on this match with the Camilla and the Juno. Raccoony, both good options in this case for Dreams Joseph. I'm liking the draft of Dreams Joseph quite a bit more than the draft of V, but I do like the pickup of that Alana. I would like to see Big V also pick up that Asher again. That definitely did work quite a lot from. Goes for an Asima. That is pretty interesting. Goes double AoE strip into an Asima. That is definitely something that Dreams Joseph will pick up a Juno into if V decides to lock it in. Goes for the Nikki instead. Still a Juno, very much on a high value pick right here. It goes for the Athna, which is a Vio Athna, which I've seen before. So in this case, you could definitely, even if the segment is on the field, it will outspeed no matter speed lead or not. You could remove that more, and then you know for sure that V is going to outspeed. Outspeeds by the Athna in this case, just banning it. Once again, Laura being banned does not want to be seen on the field from Dreams Joseph. Yeah, we have a lot of occult girls going into this match. So let's see if we can have the luck of the occult girls. The unit moving after is going to be more. You have to strip the more in this case, because otherwise this immunity on the side of the field of yours does, well, not strip it, cooldown reset it, and this land the cooldown reset. Damage going into this Masha with quite some damage. Does not land the armor break, which is very crucial for Big V right here. Otherwise he would have said goodbye to that segment right away. Trying to get back the cool time of that unit on the more, but also going to be potentially AoE strip. Does not get the strip on the Masha. That is not too great, because you could have done a whole bunch of damage into that Masha, because there's an S3 plus S3 coming in soon. S3 would have probably dehorsed that Masha straight up here. In this case, do you still want to do it? More is going to take a turn. More doesn't matter if more takes a turn. Doesn't land a single armor break. Big V is very unlucky on that hit right there. That is insanely unlucky. Wow, okay, that's definitely not looking in the favor of V right here. We have the S3 coming in, we have heal blocks across the field, but we didn't want to see heal blocks, we wanted to see armor breaks. Yeah, this is looking pretty grim, and the procer of the Masha is going to remove the segment from the battlefield. Another procer on that Draconi. Can you do enough, Big V? Can you do enough? Do these units have enough in the juice? One procer on that unit. Can we go for multiple of those? Sleep a little bit left, right, and center. Starting with left. Yes, sir. Going with the center. That's definitely one that you want to sleep next as well. Does go for a center sleep as well. Do you want to go for a right? So we go the whole right, left, and center. No, actually decides to... Like, you guys were sleeping, but I'll wake you up. I'll wake you up with a whole bunch of damage from my side. And that is so much damage. And that's a good resistance from the side of V there as well. Can you actually kill one of the units right here? This skill's not going to do too much. It's going to give some healing. Also gets a procking left, right, and center here. Definitely. I would definitely take out the more. Does take out the more Raccoon or the NFL. NFL has to go for a big cleanser over here to get back into this battlefield on the side of Dreams or on the side of Big V. However, Dreams Joseph still has the Masha in there. Masha can do a lot of damage if it goes for the proc right here. Gets the armor break, doesn't get the armor break in this case, but we do have the freeze. Does not land the freeze. We can once again go into either a little bit more damage or we can go into some more healing to remove that. Do we go? No, we don't go for the healing, but we go for another procer, and that is quite some damage dropping into it. 3.3k every time that little hula hoop is been thrown at your face. Can we, this case, we have AoE slows. That is definitely something that V needed here. But we have the S2. Can we get, once again, is that 100 res? Would you 100 res your Nikki? Is that a thing? V, are you being lucky here or are you being 5-head here? Because I am not entirely sure in this case. If this Raccoon goes for procer back though, it could be very bad. That's a very good procer for Dreams Joseph here. You could boost up the Camilla here, get some more healing, probably kill off this other unit as well. Goes for the healer. Can you kill it? Doesn't kill it. And we have some more healing coming in with an attack buff, and that's going to be a near full heal. That is so much healing coming in. And we have this OGs going back and forth with so much additional turns, both sides. I'm not sure what it is, but 22% ain't the number. How much can we do on this? Do you want to crit it? No, you want to keep this. You probably have to hit the Raccoon, or you're hitting the Masha. We get for another procer once again. You probably have to throw that S2 at the Raccoon at some point. It's definitely something. If you throw it at, yes, goes for the Raccoon, does drop it on the Raccoon. Raccoon doesn't have skill 2, can't shake it off. No procers at this moment. Can you go for the... That has to be 100 res. That has to be 100 res Nikki. I've never seen 100 res Nikki. Nikki needs so freaking much stats. It does so much damage. And it's sealing the deal right here. That has to be 100 res Nikki. And that's insane value for Big V over here. Even if the unit leaves the battlefield right now. Which isn't even the case. But that is a goodbye to Dreams Joseph. And a very strong victory. A lot of back and forth RNG on this whole match. But definitely that 100% res on the Nikki. I'm very certain it's 100% res on the Nikki. But then again, I have to give it to Dreams Joseph as well. He played very well because playing a full best of 5 into a guy like Big V, that is pretty much set to be won, and in a very close final match as well, is very well played by Dreams Joseph too. But besides the math, let's look at these matches here. We got the respect on the Wedget and that Laura. Very well strong units at this moment. Highest pick rates, highest ban rates, highest win rates, everything. Let's see what we can do with this first pick to Madrindi. Do we go more? Do we go Oliver? We go for that more. We have seen more on both players do a lot of damage. Was also Swift more, if I'm not mistaken, on both sides. What are your calculations on this? That we're going to see fireworks. We're going to see Shizuka, so True Oil's out. No, wait. It's too early. Wait, Ragdoll? Shizuka? Into... Wait, that just makes Doomon that much more interesting. Exactly. You're just... Why is everyone giving like Madrindi? Please pick the Doomon that you like to pick so much. So I'm not too sure about those. True, well, do you go heavier on Bruiser? Do you go into Raccoon, that kind of stuff? Yeah, I'm not sure about Shizuka here. It doesn't really feel fitting at all. Goes into back into AWCC, but wait, how can you go into AWCC right now? Isn't that like slightly bit late on your drafting style to go back into AWCC? Or True is really playing this game right now. If anything of my units proc out, you lose. And there is 3 to 4 units. He's gonna draft the fourth one in that fifth slot. If any of those units proc out, Madrid is in a bad position, and we're all gonna call it RNG. But if you have 4 units on 22%, it is bound to happen at some point. So Truwell's draft here seems very weird, but it's not that bad, I would say. On the other hand, Madrimdi's draft is not showing too much. It's a lot of AoE strips, but then strips into what? Oliver? That's not gonna do much. So I do like the draft of Truwell in this case. Truwell could go in a whole bunch of options right here. But what does he end up with? He would go for, oh, Fire Cookie. Definitely something that's nice. That's going to be a ban on the Doomon for sure, and it's probably a ban on that cookie as well. Okay, ban on the Doomon, ban on the Ragdoll. Ragdoll is not bad, but I see a very bad position for Madrimdi in this draft. Doomon ban makes a lot of sense, but the Oliver pick and the Haygang pick in the last 2 slots didn't really signal too much strength in there. Because where's your damage? Like I've said that before, where's your damage on the draft of Timbo? I was wrong. But in this case, once again, where's your damage? Ooh, and we also have the Chong Pong being resisting the skill, so you have to drop it right now. Yep, and that's where we have that first proc out. But even with or without that proc, I don't think it would have mattered all too much. And yeah, we have a skill 3 coming up into another skill 3. And I think that kind of is match game already. Because the moment the cookie has the speed buff, it starts healing a bunch of left and right, center. As we know how that works. That's going to be a lot. And you're just not going to use your Shizuka skill 3. You're just going to play it safe. You're just going to strip off that speed buff from the Juno. Just play casual or not. Does go for it. Definitely works. Also prevents the healing. Because if you strip it, it gets cleansed. And cleanse means you don't have debuffs. No debuffs means you don't get healing. This skill 2, speed buff, would definitely still hit. I would go for the Juno. Does go for the Juno. But this is where we're going to get a lot of healing and a lot of shields. And that is definitely not in the favor of Madrimdi in this position right here. And the Oliver and the Haygang are not really going to do anything about it. And that makes it also kind of weird on those picks. And are getting some decent stunts. Wait, let me actually lower these guys a little bit. Because I feel like I'm shouting. And then my neighbors are like, what are you shouting? And I'm like, I am doing something. And they're like, what are you doing? And then you're like, this match is not going anywhere. Because we do know that Truwell's just going to pick up this match. Because there's, as I said, the only damage that Madrimdi has is the Juno. Additional damage artifacts. And then you land everything that could heal, except on the one that would heal if you landed on that. There's just, you're not gonna get through the healing of that Fire Cookie. To be honest, Fire Cookie is one of the very few units I don't have that I might be like, would like to have that unit. Because in weird situations, it's just a very good, best in slot pick over here. We do have that armor break over here. If we crit on the Juno right now, it's done. Doesn't crit on the Juno, but if the Juno would have taken a turn, it would have been like, this match is over. Madrimdi is going to leave this match. He knows it's over. There's absolutely no way. True had a very weird draft of going a Shizuka Ragdoll early, switching back into a WCC/cleave kind of style. Weirdly enough, Madrimdi's answer to that was very strange too, with just AoE stripper onto speed lead. Why did you need an Oliver for a speed lead? You were probably already outspeeding. You forgot predictions? Fair point. What's too late to do predictions right now? No, wait, it's not. Because it goes all the way to best of 5. You guys can waste your points voting for Truwell right now and then losing. Let's go quick. Truwell, Maddie. And you guys only have 1 minute. And the thing is, I wrote math wrong because it's math with a C. That's not how you write match, but that doesn't matter. But You guys can vote right now very hard for True Will, but then if Maddie wins from the comeback, the guys that voted for Maddie are going to have a big payout. Someone went all in on True Will on that statement. Yeah, that's also a thing. But yeah, this match is very much over. Yeah, this is one of those matches. It's just definitely won by draft. This is absolutely well drafted by True Will. But I would say that the 3 and 4 slot of True Will looked very weird. But Madrimdi didn't answer to it that well. And that just made it work out very well. And I think in the playstyle of Madrimdi, a ragdoll is a very strong pivot point, which makes it difficult to draft into. All into True Will, he's a clap. Hey, that's B. B, and this is Sadorus, J-Mac. The others we couldn't see. Yeah, if Madrimdi uses crit rate slot force. Okay, we already have the bans in Tian Lang ban and Heikang ban. With Jet being open right now, also Laura being open. Laura, Oliver, definitely a favorable picks for Madrimdi. True Will, what do you like to answer with that? You don't have your Tian Lang right now, you don't have Tian Lang and Laura, which are mostly paired with this. Could definitely go for a CP Marsha. Does go for CP Marsha. More could be shown up on the other side. Definitely goes for it. Maybe a Sekhmet. I've seen a few of those before. Goes for the Nikki. Nikki's very strong into Widget because of that heal block. That's definitely a nice pickup. Unit that I don't see too much into Widget because, of course, it's a rare combination of seeing a Laura into a Widget. But definitely a combination that I would say is very strong because heal blocking, that healing of the Widget, is definitely something you want to see on the battlefield. Other side, we go Valantis plus a Juno. So Juno's also there for the counter into the draft of True Will, also being picked off right away. Madrimdi can pick it up. Could pick up a Praha, but Praha into the CP doesn't feel too fitting as well. Segment could still be an option, I would say, but it's maybe also not the biggest of fitting options. I could also see a Douglas, because Douglas, if you pick a Douglas, ban Marsha, nothing of these 4 units can actually deal properly with the Douglas. But decides to go for the Dumon, which is more of his common picks. But to be honest, even the Marsha might struggle into a Douglas. I would have loved the Douglas pick here in the 5th. We see a Widget ban and we see a Oliver ban respecting both speed leads, both sides. However, I would say, how good is a Valantis into a Laura? That might be a pretty strong pick over there. But let's see. First off, we have the Moore into the Laura later. Are we going to go for skill 2 or are we going to keep it back because we don't want... We're going to keep it back. Did not land the attack break. Okay. We're going to see skill 3. You definitely have to do it. Widget, are you going to be procced? Goes for a skill 2. What? Why? Huh? What? I don't get that. But CP has a free opener right now. Okay, we have the Curse of Death. We probably go for some healing over here, I guess. No, goes for some damage. Okay. I see Madrimdi cooking, but I'm not sure what we're cooking yet. Armor break this case. No big V Nikki, that is 100 res. Some proper damage on those units as well. This skill 3 is definitely going to kill that Nikki off. 4.5 or 4 case on that critter. It is definitely going to be a lot of damage. And Madrimdi's team is not looking too lively at all. And I would have definitely liked to see a Douglas. Because Douglas could have clean field here. Against the Masha, it's pretty difficult, but... Yeah, I think we're taking a very quick 2-0 on the side of True over here. Wow, that's... Yeah, I feel like a Dumon, it fits in certain drafts, but you cannot spam it. It's not something you use... Like, Dumon is very strong into Bruiser drafts, into a Raccoon, into a Molly back in the days. Like, all of those things where they take a lot of turns, but they don't do too much. Into True Will's draft right here, True Will's draft is power, power, power. You cannot Dumon into that stuff. You get stomped, and that's a very clean 2-0 from True Will right there. Wait, that's the Bikini Zyros thingy. Wait, who won that? It's one of the... I'm not sure, did they do that before this already? Because they had like the attendees 2v2 tournament with the Bikini Zyros trophy. Which was a pretty cool idea, I like it. But in this match, once again, we have the Laura pre-ban and the Wajet pre-ban. Oliver first pick, Oliver answered by that strong Tian Lang. How do you counter that Tian Lang? You don't have Laura on the field. Also going for Oracles right now, the Juno, the Praha, they're kind of not necessarily nullified already, but they're kind of hard count. It still goes for the Praha. I would definitely not say go for a Dumon right now. It's a Nikki, pretty early of a Nikki as well, because you do know that you're most likely gonna get outsped unless you ban out that more. True Will goes in with that Cigar. Could go Cigar Marsha, could go Cigar Chiwu. But definitely that Marsha is more of a safe pick of saying like, okay, I could go more and many routes with this position right here. My Dream D, do you still want to pick up like a Juno? You could go Juno +1. But is that strong enough for you right now, right here? Definitely a Dumon does not fit here. And Onyuki also doesn't really fit. Hey Gang would fit, I would say. It's not the greatest into a Cigar, but definitely could fit. And goes for a Cardinal. Okay, so that's definitely already a ban on the more, I would say. Other side, we could pick up a Chiwu, and then the Chiwu is pretty much a open ban towards anything on the right side. Probably banning on that Hey Gang if Chiwu goes for that. Goes for a Pontus instead. Interesting. Is that going to be a Nemtrap Pontus? Pontus is always one of the trickiest things. Still the more ban and the Hey Gang ban. In this case, who would take first turn? I would probably say Madrimdi. But then it's also the big question, is this Pontus a Nemtrap? We do say the Nikki moving afterwards, and the Nikki moving afterwards isn't great. This Pra has to go as 2 S3. Pra can go as 2 S3. I would definitely take it. I would 100% take it, because you probably do know that your units move after that Nikki. Doesn't go for the S1. Or it doesn't go for the S3. Does not want to waste the skill right now. But you can get stunned in this position. Oliver gets stunned. And that's exactly the unit that you need to be there. To get rid of anything. And we have that heal coming in. That heal definitely works. You don't want to go for skill 3. That is probably a Nemtrap. Is this Pontus taking a turn? Pontus does not Nemesis up at all. We do have this Marsha taking a turn. Does land it. And oh, we have the Cardinal moving next. But the Cardinal could be stripped. The other things could be pushed back. It was not tightly in tune enough. Does not go for any skills. However, we could go for skill 2. If you skill 2 pushback right now, Oliver has free reigns. Goes for the skill 3. Decides to manage the stun. There's no procer out. And this match is looking very favorable for Madrimdi right now. And you definitely have to go. Oh, that's a risk as well. That Pontus, man. The Pontus. I would definitely not keep the Pontus in his state where he's probably 100% resisting. Units are not looking too lively, so I definitely do think it is fine. But the Pontus was not on Nem. The Pontus was via Wild. I would have... I don't know. Yeah, but also Cigar. Why no Cigar S3? Cigar S3. What? I'm throwing my pen. But Cigar S3. Why would you not Cigar S3? You misclick that? Yeah, probably. Like, you fat fingered that one. I don't know, but... You definitely have to Cigar S3 that. Like... I have no clue what was going over there. Because if you Cigar S3, you also hit the Oliver and you're pretty much back in the game. But also that Pontus, I definitely expected a... I wouldn't go for... If I had a Pontus, I would Nem-trap my Pontus. Like everyone listening right now playing into my Pontus and then finding out it's vile. Ah, psych. But no, I don't know. True was making it interesting, yeah. Definitely. Let's see, we have, once again, Hey Gang ban, we have the Tian Lang ban. And we're probably gonna have this Laura and Wajet ending up on the side of True Will. But Madrindi likes to steal that more and that Oliver. Are we going to see that Wajet being picked up? Plus Cigar? Plus Juno. Okay, Juno on the other side. We're probably going to see that Nikki once again. But are we going to see a Nikki plus a Dumon? I don't really think I would fit Dumon. Switches it up. Goes for the Pra. Goes for the Mash. I definitely do like that switch up. Is signaling a little bit of a ban on the Wajet in this case. True, what do you like to answer with that? You could still go for your Ragdoll and kind of units, but is that fitting enough for the draft right here that you're working with? Goes for the Wajet, goes back for the Pontus. Pontus is somewhat taken care of by the amount of strippers of Madrimdi. He could add another stripper, and a Seimei is definitely a strong take here. Because with the Seimei on the field, you pretty much have to respect that Seimei. It's pretty much a must ban. Other side, Most likely that Laura band that's you're gonna take off on the field. Going to go for the Widget, which is also definitely a strong take on that field. Removes most of the healing potential on the side of True. However, if there's a lot of buffs, and there's a lot of buffs on the side of True Will, if you strip all of those, Juno's going to make a lot of healing from it if it was stripped by that Praha. First turn, going to that more. You have to push back. Doesn't land a single pushback. However, if this S3 lands right now, all of the units from lands the pushback, that is so much damage. But that skill 2 is going to land it on 2 units. That is very devastating. We do have the Daydream to kind of reset the match, but the match is not that much reset as the point where you're slowed and a lot of skill cooldowns are gone. Also did not increase the cool time, but it didn't absorb as well. We have some stunners. We have 2 stunners coming out from that Juno, but there's speed buff across the field on the side of Truel, and that might be pretty bad because the Valantis is moving pretty soon as well. Masha, skill 2. What can you do? Where do you throw it? There's only one target without the defense buff. Is that going to be your target? It's going to be the target. It does do a lot of damage, but it is not quite enough. No provokes, but AoE glancing on the battlefield. Juno, how much do you do with a speed buff? 2.4s, 2.3s? Goes for 2.2s, but that's on an Oliver, most likely with some damage reduction there. So still some great damage on that Oliver. Pontus, can you get the skills up? Pontus does get a procer, and Pontus gets the skills up. And that means a holy ground, which brings the immunity, the invisibility. But not if Pra has to say something about it and procs on the perfect moment to go back into that stun as well and strips most of those units. However, Juno is going to make healing of those debuffs. And we're looking back and forth on pretty dire HP. So many stuns going back and forth. We're going healing, but the healing was not enough to hit on that Daughters. It was not enough. Juno heals the Masha, or the, psych. I'm psyching myself. Heals the Laura for just a little bit. Masha, how much can you do? We're gonna get AoE silence from this Pontus. Doesn't get anything. Would we go S2? We could go S2 for some AoE stunners. But also the Phalantus coming up pretty soon. 2.2.5Ks. That's already a lot more damage. We have the glancing it. Glancing it doesn't work. We have that skill 3 once again from that Laura. So much buffs. So much damage. 3.6k on a critter. And that is going to be the match of a 3-1 of Truel winning against Madrimdi. 2.8? Did he do close to 2.8 Juno as a 1-1 speed buff defense buff? It was on the Masha though, she's low defense, but yo, that's pretty strong. And that is also the prediction going to Mr. Truel. Defense buff. There was defense buff. You might have some defense scaling in there. What does the V and Big V stand for? To be honest, I never asked him. Like, I chilled with V like once or twice. Like, also outside of the tournaments and everything. And I never actually asked. Reese looks like a very charismatic guy. I agree. We have the Oliver band and we have the Laura band. Let's see what we can do, what we have. What are we cooking, boys? Reese going in with a more expected. Let's go. Going in with a Chiwu cigar pretty fast. Definitely do like it into the more. Are we going to pick up the Masha? Masha, Sakmat, these units. Are we looking into Junos? Taking his time. I do like it. I do like that. Goes for a Heigang. Somewhat of an early Heigang. It's not too great in neither the Changpeng or not the Changpeng, the Chiwu, nor the Cigar. Let's go for a Segment though. Segment is pretty great into those. However, if he can actually answer that with the NFL that he's been picking quite some, is not too bad into this draft. Because Reese has not been signaling too much damage. But I think Reese is aiming towards his Tayor plus Sean combination, which with the Bracknell and Nikki is somewhat prevented as well, but there's still a Sean plus a CP. I would definitely say that probably the Sean is banned in this position, and V is going to pick up a unit that would do great into the other 4. Well, what is that unit that V would like to pick up that would do great into those 4? Is that something like a Juno that kind of also powers up the Heigang quite a bit? Or it's going to be, oh, we're going to remove the Sean and we're going to put a Carnal. Don't think it matters too much for the draft of V. I think there's still probably going to be that ban on the Carnal, and then a draft into the other 4. But with that, you could also kind of mix it up and go for something else. Weird pick that could be pretty strong here is a Susano, and no one's going to pick that up. But that could be a weird pick here that's very good, but we do see that NFL that was picked up earlier by V, and that has quite some work. Are we going to see, with that NFL in there, you could also say we're going to ban out that CP, but on the other side, probably the NFL is also banned. This is, once again, the 100% resistance in Nikki, so keep that in mind. Carnal is going to be difficult to landing stuff into that Nikki, but we have that segment S2 still probably landing. So let's see what we have over here. We do see the CP ban, and we see a Chiwu ban. So we do have this NFL on the field, and NFL is going to be probably the target of segment for the S3. But do you go for it though? Because there's full-on will on the side of Big V, which is definitely a good starter. Goes for the one on the cigar. Can you control the NFL though? You have to stun the NFL. Didn't strip all too much, so that also makes it more difficult. Does not go for the skill 2. Does decided to go for the skill 2 at the later moment where you can also strip off attack buffs. Do you go for skill 3 right now and potentially stun? Does not go for any stuns. In this case, we do have the turn order reversed where you cannot go for an AoE armor break, but you can go for a skill 3 right now. And then you have an attack buff armor break. That is so much damage right there. Holy, what is this damage? We have armor break, cross the field, ragdoll, attack buff, armor break. Are you gonna kill this Carnal right off the bat? Or who you decide to kill? You kill off them more with the 29k. That is so much damage. We have this procer from V coming in, killing in the Hey Gang with 10k's per hit. That is so much damage. However, we have almost full across the board AoE armor breaks, but that is fully sealed by this NFL. Once again, that was just wow. That went crazy play by Big V. So much going in and out and damage and everything. But the healing coming in is like, okay, you drop a lot of stuff on me, I got that NFL. And that is definitely something that looked very nice on the side of Big V right there. Why save the Hey Gang S2? You save the Hey Gang S2 for that you want to strip an attack buff at a later moment. Was it the right play in the end? Well, you didn't have a later moment, so maybe not. But that skill 3 Annabelle into a Ragdoll S2 from 29k, that's a killer. That's a killer. We have a Raccoon ban. First Raccoon ban of the tournament of today. Definitely something I do like to see. Oliver ban on the other side. Big V, are you gonna pick up that more, or do you want to seal something like a cigar? Does go for the Laura first pick. Laura first picks in tournament setups, I'm not too sure about, because you know you have Laura. You know the enemy doesn't have Laura. You can actually wait to pick up that Laura at the later moment. But we have Shizuka coming into it. And Shizuka can steal off that speed buff. Can steal off the defense buff. And that Juno that is supposedly countering a Shizuka is already picked up as well. Big V, what do you like to pick up against that? Is that going to be your cigar? Are you still going to get Chiwu? You're definitely going that cigar. And goes back for that NFL. That's a lot of NFL play from Big V here today. I'm not too sure. Last match, it actually did work out pretty well, but I am still not too sure how much I like NFLs in. It's kind of a safe bruiser play, but into the plays that Reese makes with like AoE CC, I feel like it doesn't work all too great. However, Reese comp is kind of in a weird position as well. You have the Juno S2 strip into a Pra S3 AoE pushback, but is that deadly? If V picks up a Verd right now, the V stands for Verd, would be very much in the position right here. That is hard to deal with. You have to glance to deal anything. And we have the Nikki being picked up once again. Other side, what do you pick up against that? It's like heavy triple OG with that Verd countering comp. What can you bring into that that works and kind of works with everything? Maybe a Hey Gang to add more glancing? Could be a thing. I'm not too sure. The V stands for Livert. No, the V in this case stands for Vert. And also the V stands in Vert is going to be banned. But also the Ethna is going to be banned most likely. So let's see what we have on those post bans that we can see here on the screen right now. Can we see the Vert leaving the battlefield? Can we see the Ethna leaving the battlefield? Definitely do taking their time on both cases. Who's locking the ban in last? V is locking the ban in last. Definitely still the Vert. And we have the Chung Pong leaving the battlefield. Chung Pong is an annoying factor, but the Etna and the segment could be difficult. I definitely do like the draft of Reese here in this position, because a lot of units on the side of Reese are moving first. Goes for the S2, slightly bit of chip damage. S3, where do you aim into? Into the Nikki. Does not land on the Nikki, and it's Nikki 100 res. Once again, we've seen it in the previous match. Reese was not paying attention to the previous match. There's actually 100 res on everything. There's not a single thing sticking. And we do have this Juno moving next. Big question is, we have those units moving next. And those Girl Prayers, or what is the name of that skill 2, just does so much. Yeah, Girl's Prayer does so much work. We have a skill 3 coming in right here. If the Cigar lands everything on that Shizuka, it might be a pretty quick match. We have the increase, we have everything. And we have a skill 3 from the Nikki with armor breaks. And that is just so much damage. And Big V is just speed running this. Speed run America's Cup, 100% no skip, no glitches. 2-0. And that was insane. Big V is making quick work of everyone's predictions right here. I would like to see Reese win. Wow. That was just the armor break of Annabelle into the AoE skill of Nikki. Wow, that's so much damage. Holy. We got 2-0 up for Big V against Reese. How much struggle that he had with Dreams Joseph of the draft back and forth. That's how easy it looks like. Reese, by all means, is a great player. But Big V makes it look easy right now. Reese, how do you answer? Going back with that more, most likely, comfortable pick. Definitely nothing wrong with that. But you gotta keep something in mind in the draft of what can you do with it. Because we have the Chiwu and that Cigar being picked up. Last time we went into a Sekhmet and units like that with the Juno. This time, going into a Marsha. Marsha plus what? Do you go back to the CP? CP doesn't fit here too well. Goes for a Rakuni, safe pick. Kind of pick that's super all-round. Could go anyway. Big V, how do you answer to those fire-heavy units with the more in there? Definitely goes back. The double OGs. Goes back Nikki, NFL. Definitely do like it. The units have been working. I'm still not really sure about all of those NFL picks. But hey, man, if it works, don't break a winning team. And those two together have been a winning team so far. Reese, what do you answer with that? Unit that we definitely haven't seen too much being picked up or at all today is a Ganymede. But does a Ganymede fit in this position right now? Maybe a little bit, but it's somewhat something that you have to have ruined up and also fitting that case. We do see a Miles Rakuni with a King combination. Big V. This is more of a draft that you also played against Dreams Joseph with. Is this therefore also something that you're more struggling with? Could pick up that Elena, could pick up that Volantis. Does pick up the Elena because there is a 5-time passive on the enemy side, and picking that Oblivion on them would definitely be a nice case in this case. But let's see if he locks it in. If he does lock it in, he does lock it in. What are we going to see on the bans? I would definitely say that the Miles is a... No, wait. The Rakuni is a high threat because the moment that Rakuni is off the field, there's no more healing on the side of Reese. Other side, you could aim for that speed lead, removing the speed lead, therefore taking the first turn and therefore maybe going away. Doesn't go for it. We're actually removing the Kinky and we're removing the Elena. So we have the Miles Rakuni combination in there that could be very deadly. On the other side, who do we have first? Chiwu, can you move first? Yeah, Chiwu, insanely fast unit. Chiwu even outspeeds the Miles. The runes of Big V are insane. How do you outspeed a Miles? Big V, are you speedrunning this again? Didn't land as many armor breaks as in the last 2 rounds, but still quite some damage. There's glancing slow. Even if it lands, it's not going to do too much damage. You try to tumble it into... Okay, does go for the Chibu in this case, because he does know. Landing that stuff into the Nikki doesn't really work. That doesn't really help. In this case, we go for the pushback onto the Rakuni. Definitely a choice I like. There's no more push-up of the Rakuni. There's no more... there's no more cycling of the Rakuni all too much. And we're killing off this more, and it's a 3 against 4 in very early part of the match once again. Miles, can you make it work? You need a procer, you need 1, you need 2, you need a 3 procer, you need a quad proc, you need a penta procer. Anything, Miles, who do you stun? Goes for the, once again for the Cigar. And we have a Ghost Prayer coming up once again. And the Ghost Prayer of this NFL is doing 20k healing. 20k healing, throwing a fucking hula hoop up your face for 8k. And that is just so freaking much damage. And once again, Big V is speed running those matches. Even the Chivo is surviving. What are these runes on Big V? The Chivo is just surviving. There's like literally no damage coming through. It takes multiple turns. There's still no damage coming through. We got another full healing if we would like to. Decides to not go for it. Goes for a proc S3. A lot of damage over there. Killing pretty much everything on the field. And that is the fastest 3-0 I've pretty much seen in SWC so far in live tournaments. Big V, how much you struggled with Dreams Joseph. How much you made this look easy against Reese. Wow. Insane plays. So once again, that also does mean that we're going to see Mr. Big V in Thailand, representing America's Cup. Okay, there we have our final match of today. The one that will seal the deal. And we have a Chivo Respect ban and a Laura ban. Okay. Truel has that widget open. Truel's definitely going to go for probably that widget pick right away. Or do you want to seal in your Moore or Oliver? Does like to take away the cigar. Truel does know that he doesn't have to. It's not ladder. It's not that something can be like, oh, Big V suddenly has a widget as well. You do know it's not the case. And picking up the comfortable pick, breaking up both the Chiwu and the cigar from Big V is definitely Big V something that he didn't see yet today. We see that high speed unit on that segment on the first pick already. Going back to that NFL, I'm not too sure with the NFL once again. I've been saying that a bunch of times today already. However, Big V has also been surprising me of how well it worked into Reese. But it didn't work that well into Dreams Joseph. We do definitely see that cigar or the cigar being picked up with that widget and a Sean. I would say that this segment has potential to outspeed all of that, but V has to show some speed potential in the form of an Oliver, of a Moore, or any of those other kind of units as well to kind of rock back into the speed lead position, but also outspeeding. Or V, are you gonna say, I'm going full Bruiser style with that Elena? Elena? But with what? Because the Elena can deal with a bunch of stuff, but she has to move first to work. Goes for a Meo Wang. Haven't seen the Meo Wang today yet from Big V, and I'm not sure if I'm liking that draft too much. Because Truel could enter into that style that we have seen before from Reese with a Taylor plus a Sean. But Truel does not have any AoE strippers yet. So the only strip we have is single target cigar. We have that Moore being picked up, and that's where we have our both AoE strippers. And a simple lock-in from the Kinky. Pretty fast pick from Big V. Is he going to lock that in? Could be the thing, but in that case, I am not too sure. It's probably a ban on that Sean, but we have seen it before in previous matchup. Goes for a Leo. Leo does mean that you keep in the Sean, but that Leo is going to be banned. So this is the mind game. Are you going to ban that Leo? Are you going to ban that Sean? Because both of them cancel each other out if they're on the field. If there is the Sean on the field, whereas there's not the Leo on the field, it's very much in the favor of Truel on this whole draft. So let's see what they lock in for those bans. We do have the Leo ban, but we have the Sean being on the field. So that Sean is going to be very deadly for Big V. And we have this Moore that has seen before on Swift. Moore taking first turn. Next unit move is that Widget being outspeed by double. We don't see the strip on that Annabelle. But I still think that the strip on the NFL was actually definitely needed. You have to go for an S2 strip right now and then into a Sean skill 3. You can't go any way around that. Because if you go still a skill 3 right now, I don't think I agree with that. Because if you go skill 3 right now, your skill 3 is nullified. So you definitely have to go for an S2 skill 3. Because what is this stun going to do right now? The stun is going to do nothing. Well, you're going to waste the turn of the enemy. But is that going to be enough though? That is going to be the big question. We have this attack break landing on that unit, but this is going to be a full heal across the board, definitely for sure. But afterwards, we have the units of Truel moving next. The units of True Will. CP, can you land those armor breaks? And John, can you actually kill a unit straight off the get-go? If you land that armor break on the monkey right now, does not land it on the monkey, but does land it on two other units, you can kind of decide who do you want to kill. You're going to guarantee critter that on an armor break. It's going to do 33k, which is not enough. That's a very tanky Elena. But with that procer and that extra hit, it's actually gone for that unit. But we do also see the monkey moving next. Monkey moving next. How fast can you deal with that Sean? First hit, resistance. That is definitely not the resistance that you would like to see in this matchup, because without that resistance, you could have maybe done a lot of damage. We also see a pushback, and we see a second chance of that cigar. Squall, 42k. That is so much damage, and that is definitely not something that Big V can recover from easily. Even if you land the S2 while having glancing with a bunch of strong units right now, that is not too good with that resistance in there. The Mei Wang is not going to do enough. You're going to have that defense buff up. You're going to have that anti-crit up. You're not going to do any damage. And this is definitely a match for True Will. Ooh, another proc from that Sean, and that's definitely going to kill off that segment as well. And that's definitely going to be the victory for True Will. Okay, decides to go for the monkey, and that's actually pretty good damage on the monkey as well. Monkey S1, S2 procer, can we do it? Very mediocre damage and did not do it. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, you're not gonna True Will, you don't want to give the first turn to too much. You can give him a little bit of first turn, but if you give him full AoE first turn, he has too many strong units with that Sean in there, with that strong Moor, with the CP, with any of the other units that he's shown before. You cannot really turn too much into True Will. Spies tried that as well, and that didn't really work out. So that is going to be 1-0 for True Will. '23 speed on slot 3 with 7 egg in it. Grats. Kinizarus. We have the Wajet ban and the Laura being pre-banned. Big V, first pick. Does he like to steal that more? Does he like to take that Oliver? What does he, or does he seal in the cigar, which is a high contested pick between the both of them? We have that cigar being picked up right away. True Will, do you go back to the more? True Will does know, okay, this is the high value pack that we're going to be playing back and forth right now. But next thing, what we're gonna do, CP and a Sean, which I would say is pretty early for both of them. V could definitely go into a Chiwu, maybe even a Hey Gang right now. Hey Gang might be too early, but a Chiwu would definitely be fitting in this draft. Goes for the Chiwu plus the Nikki. True Will right now, would you maybe pick up that Hey Gang? I don't think so too much as well, but definitely could go into that more. But more, how do you pair it up with? There's a few options, there's a few choices, there's a few decisions. But definitely that more is something that I would expect to see here from True Will. Does go for the more, locks it up with maybe a segment. I was going to say a fire unit, maybe a Marsha, but segment definitely fits that as well. Other sides, Hey Gang. I do feel Hey Gang is fitting. But I do also think that Big V, from the playstyle that he has been showing earlier so far today, he's going to probably be picking up that NFL. Leo, I'm once again not too sure about. Leo is only countering one unit on the field, and that's just making your ban phase very difficult, because is the Leo going to be banned and is the Chan going to be banned? But as I said before, we're going to see that comfortable pick from Big V that has been picked quite a bunch of times here today, that NFL in the field. True Will, how do you like to answer all of that stuff over there that we see? I would say that a Verdehow might not be too bad. A Ganymede that I called out before would not be too bad. but he actually decides to go off with a Pontus, and there's only one AoE strip on the side of Big V. So there's probably a Pontus ban and a Chiwo ban, because Big V should notice that he only has one AoE stripper on the field, and he can definitely not deal with a Pontus with whatever he brings on the field right now if he's losing the Chiwo. But definitely a strong mind game on that draft, and there's always a strong mind game on the draft if you have that Leo on the field as well. We're going to see Leo being removed, and we're going to see Sean being removed. So actually the two units that counter each other out, definitely a very strong mind game in there. But we still have to think, Sekhmet is going to outspeed that Chiwu. If Sekhmet resets that Chiwu, Pontus is going to have free reign, most likely, of his skills if the Cigar is not being pushed back. Let's see how that revolves around. Even the CP is outspeeding that Cigar. We see a resistance, and that's a huge resistance for Big V right now. You're gonna land that skill 3, pushes back both units. Even if you push back this triple times, you're not gonna push back enough. Doesn't land nearly anything. And we're gonna see so much damage from Big V, what we have seen before. So many heal blocks. But this Cigar, the Cigar has to land. Cigar lands the increased cooltime, lands on everything, and lands the procs. And once again, Big V, through a lucky moment of that Sekhmet just not landing her stuff, is just speed running on the way that he's drafting with those units. If things go in his favor, things heavily go in his favor. And it is a very low chance of Sekhmet actually not landing her stuff. But the moment she does not land her stuff, it is very impactful. And that is what Big V took the advantage of in this match. But he's also not too happy with this victory, because he knows he kind of lost the draft right there. But he still took the victory. But he's kind of in the mindset of like, okay, this is not the way that I can consistently win. I need something better to consistently win. And that is something that Big V has in his mind right now. Yeah, Sekhmet, one of those units, can be a blessing, can be a curse. And she has Curse of the Beautiful. We have the pre-bans coming in with a Chiwu and a Laura Cigar. Once again, most contested unit between those two. Funny enough, last year they played in America's Cup in the first round of the Cup as well in New York. And the most contested pick between the two of them was a Narsha. Narsha has not been picked up today at all, which is very interesting to see. It's not as strong as a unit in current meta, but definitely a unit that both of them still have in the back pocket, most likely, and might be picked up at any moment. But we're going to see a Sekhmet. Did not work out last round for Truewill, but we're going to see it on the side of Big V this time with the Oliver. Other side, we're going to have the Widget, Busted Juno. How do you want to work into those units that just provide so much cycling, so much anti-debuffs, so much going around everything? And Elena definitely would fit in here for the Oblivions. However, you're going to have to fight that Cigar already. That's going to reset you. Does go for the Elena. And goes back again to the Nikki. So we're seeing a lot in this whole America's Cup right now. Comfortable picks. These units have my best runes. Therefore, or these units have my best runes. Therefore, I draft these units. And that is definitely a lot what we see in these Cup as well. And that's also definitely what we can see working in general for the main players. However, Truewill, what do you answer with this? Sean and CP, once again, units we have seen before. Big V, do you steal off that more? Do you remove the speed lead, completely take first turn? If you go for a speed lead right now, you're definitely going to take first turn. Definitely a more would be very fitting in the draft of Big V right now. However, if I'm not mistaken, V didn't draft a single more so far yet. So it's not that much of a comfortable pick. And also for that reason goes into a Verdhile. If you ban out that Sean, there's not too much damage on the side of Truewill. There's just going to be chip damage. There's going to be additional damage, artifact damage. But there's not going to be full-on heavy damage on that side. However, on the other side, if you remove that Verdhile, there's also not too much damage. We remove the Sean and we remove the Oliver. So there's no speed lead on the side of Big V. Now I want to see, because I would not be surprised if this Sekhmet actually does take the first turn. Sekhmet, do you take the first turn? No, it is. Widget is fast enough. Widget takes the first turn. But there's a lot of wind units into that Verdhile. You have to go for skill 2 here right now. Can you land the glancing? Does land the glancing and the armor break on the Verdhile. And that's huge for Truewill in this case. Can he elaborate on that? Does get the counter, does get one critter as well, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it's two critters, but I thought it was just one. And we got AoE provoke so far. That's a lot of damage. Once again, we got another critter from that Vertihal. Vertihal definitely has to shake off all of those skills to get anywhere. There's a lot of damage going into the Vertihal right now because of the counter. If the Nikki procs right now, Nikki, do you proc? Do you get that one proc? Does not get that one proc. That would have probably been a turnaround of this whole match. But we see this Vert procking so many times on those revenges, but he's been glanced, he's been armor broken. That glance and the armor broken just doesn't make him do enough. We see a lot of the damage going into him. Once again, counter, but counter not enough. Juno would probably take out that unit off the battlefield right here. Does get another counter, a double non-critter from that Vertihal. That Vertihal is definitely on like quit runes, but he couldn't make it work because of that glancing that was landed earlier by that CP. That's a 3 very good death breakers. That's a heal block, but just on one unit. And that heal block is the one thing that you have to stick on multiple things. Nikki, can you turn around this whole match? I think it looks pretty dire, especially if you have the chance to get provoking here as well. Does not get provoked, but we are going to look into defense buff, anti-crit buff, and potentially another stunner from this Juno. Does not get the Juno stunner, but that's 2.5k. Is a lot of damage. Even if the Nikki decides to proc over here, finally does get the procer, and that's not looking too great. Even if you go for a skill 3 right now, you can't land those AoE heal blocks, but there is that defense buff across the field. Does decide to not even go for it because he knows the defense buff, the anti-crit buff, he's not going to do too much damage, but we have this armor break right now, 3.8kers from the Juno times 3. That's taking a lot of health on this Nikki. And this is definitely looking a very favorable match for Truewell right now. And I do not really see how Big V can recover from this match, because this is just such an uphill battle. The moment that the Vert, I definitely did like the Vert play in there. But the moment that the Vert got the glancing, it just becomes so difficult to get him into his cycling, into the cycling of the other units, into the damage of everything else. And it's just not going to work out. And that is where we're going to have to see the widget is balanced. Absolutely. Juno Insane. That's a very good Juno. That's definitely true. But yeah, I would say the what's it called, CP glancing on the third heal, very impactful. You see Big V thinking, what can I do different? What does work in that match? Big V is really fighting this uphill battle of pretty much the box of Truewell. Who's what jet? It's the Elite Horus, the unit you see over here being pre-banned on the right. Very strong unit, lots of cycling, defense buff, anti-crit buff, healing, speed lead. There's just so much going around for that widget that just makes it very difficult. But Big V does have the pickup of the Laura right now. But Truel, do you go back to that cigar? Do you steal the cigar? We see a Wusa first pick with the Ragdoll. That is a very different pick style from Truel that we haven't seen yet. But Truel is sitting in a comfortable position of being the one-up, being on Matt's point, saying, I can draft a little bit different and still work around with it. The Elena is gone. You cannot play around with the Elena right now, so you do not have the options for those. However, Big V still can go for the cigar. I'm going to go for, would you still go Chiwu in this? I'm not 100% sure about the Chiwu. Does go for the NFL, also kind of a safe pick of signaling. I'm not entirely sure what you're going to be drafting, but those are my comfortable picks. I'm going to pick those. I'm going to go around those. Ragdoll, what do you want to pair Ragdoll with? Because Ragdoll is, as mentioned, a hyper enabler. And it enables, in this case, for the Julian and the Nikki, which we have seen not being picked by Truewell so far, but Ragdoll is a very strong hyper enabler for those two units. Big V, are you going to respect that widget not being there? The Julian is there right now, the Nikki is there. You could go into strong immunity as well, but decides to not go for any immunity at all, because there's no stripper on the side of Truewell yet. However, there's a lot of damage on the side of Truewell. And I don't think you can get away with banning that fifth pick. You probably have to ban that Julian out there. But you also probably want to ban that Ragdoll. You do have 3 units of pushbacks, and 3 units, well, pushback is the hard counter to Julian in general. You could maybe get away with that. But banning the Ragdoll or banning the Julian is probably what we're gonna see. No, we're gonna ban the Juno. Ooh, I am not too sure about that. I think True is in a very favorable position right here. We do see a lot of pushbacks coming. However, I would say that Laura skill 3 is most likely going to trigger the Wusa enough to be putting the Will of Immortality. Let's see, how much can we land? Can we push back enough? Or can we actually land enough? We don't land enough. We land an S2, but it's an S2 at a completely wrong time. And the next unit to move is going to be that it's going to be the Wusa. We do see a stun being returned on the Laura. We're going to see the Wish of Immortality on that skill 3. Ooh, do we cleanse or do we attack buff? We actually go for an attack buff and we're throwing back the damage. Quite some damage across the field. Actually, a lot of damage across the field. We're going for that skill 2. Does land the glancing on all units. Not too bad, not too bad. Big question is right now, can we keep controlling everything? We have speed buff across the field. We have the Oliver cycling back and forth. We have a perfect timed serious matter from that skill that actually stunned 2 units, but 1 unit can easily cleanse it off. But this is actually not looking all too bad on the side of Big V right now, because the units are not looking too lively on the side of True Will, and True Will might actually take a lose on this fight because there's just so much AoE damage going around. Do not see the procer over there. In this case, I definitely do think that you have to... Ooh, okay, goes for the Julian. Julian would definitely still take HP from side units if you decide to go for it right now. Goes for another... Yeah, this looks very nice. This looks... Wow, there's just... What is the counter to the Julian? A lot of pushbacks. And a lot of pushbacks are played exactly this way. We got that Oliver, we got the Cigar, we got the CP. We don't crit too much on the other units. We even got the unwanted proc on the Laura, but the Laura did not proc. And there was a very nice clean match from Big V. We go all the way best of 5, and that is exactly what we like to see. And we go best of 5, final match to seal the deal once and for all. Who's going to be the winner of America's Cup 2023? Douglas would have soloed that team? I do agree. We're going to go into a Chiwu pre-ban and into a Laura pre-ban. And Chiwu is definitely going to be able to pick up that Cigar again and having a Widget later with that. Cigar definitely a comfortable pick for Big V, but it's not going to be on the field for him right now because True likes to pick up that unit. Big V, once again, do you go back into that segment kind of draft that wasn't really working all too much? I am not too sure. Segment is definitely a comfortable pick for him, but stealing something along the lines of that Moor might actually help. But I think Big V doesn't have like a proper Moor being ruined up. Goes for the Oliver. Oliver segment is definitely an option that you could work around with. Does go for it as well. True Will probably goes back to the Moor. More CP is an option. It's not too great into a bunch of resetters, but I would definitely say that a more Juno, more CP is probably something that True would like to pick up. Goes for the Widget, of course. Widget is still in there. Don't forget about that one. Goes for Volantis. Okay, that's very open to a Juno right now. Okay, goes for the Jean instead. Slightly less open to a Juno, but V could definitely pick up a Juno right now. But you have to keep in mind, you're gonna have to deal with that with Jet as well. And if you give too much turn 1 to Truel right now, he's very much in the upper hand of this match. And we have seen that in time again. Does go for an AoE stripper, but that AoE stripper in previous matches, at least in the prelims, was on Violent. If it's on Violent still, it's not speed contesting enough, I would say, to this match. Big V is signaling a lot of turn 2 in this match still, so I'm not too sure if that is going to be great, because Truo can definitely pick up a more right now, plus another unit. What's interesting that neither of them, they're highly speed contesting. The speed is mostly winning the game. The first turn is winning the game. But we're not picking up units like Efna. We do, however, pick up the Changpeng, and we do pick up the Moor. Big V, if you go enter with a speed lead right now, what is your speed lead of choice? You only have one AoE stripper right now. There is not a single speed lead in the game that is an AoE stripper as well, because the Chiu is banned out. The Moor is already picked up by your enemy. What can you give right now that's strong enough that would actually do something? Even the Juno right now and banning out the Jean is probably not going to do enough. He goes for a stripper that is AoE, not a speed lead, however. But it's going to be that Valantis. I would still say you have to ban out that Jean. Other side, probably banning out that segment. Let's see what we have for the bans in the final match of today of America's Cup. Of both of them representing America in World Finals as well. We see the respect on the Jean. On the other side, we see the respect on the speed lead. With that respect on the speed lead, this is definitely something that Changpeng and the Moor have to do a lot of damage. Let's see what we can do. We have seen this Moor time and time again do a lot of damage. Can it actually land everything that it has to land today on this final match? Goes for skill 1. Okay, safe play. Doesn't want to proc into the Valantis at all. Are you going to go for skill 2 right now? You have to go for skill 2 right now. Does get a skill 2, but also gets boosted up by the Valantis. But we still have that Cigar moving in front. Cigar, you have to push it back. Cigar does push it back. Nikki can go for clean S2, and we're going for a reset of the match on that case if we do decide to go for it. However, we do see that the speed tuning goes to this favor of Truo. Truo can still go for a later skill 3 on that CP, but that is definitely going to be quite beneficial for Truo in that case. And can Big V recover from being fully reset and then having another cycling going into the damage of all of his units? Because this is just going to do so much damage. If you go for skill 3 right now, does get a skill 3, does also get stunned in the process, however. How much increased cooltime was it? We do have the armor break on the Nikki. That's definitely a high value target that has to be taken off the battlefield. We have seen it before, time and time again, doing so much work on the side of Big V. And that's a lot of damage into the unit. Can we stun this Cigar? Cigar is the one that you have to stun. Otherwise you get more provoked. Can we land it, or do we land it somewhere else? It was resisted. That is too bad for Big V. We need a Curse of the Beautiful with landing a lot of defense breaks, a lot of... Does not go for it, does go for the increased cooltime. Definitely a choice as well, but I'm not sure if that is the right choice right now. Because the moment that we say goodbye of this Nikki, the damage output on the side of Big V is going to be a lot less. Nikki, can you proc? Nikki does not proc. Doesn't take enough damage. We can go for skill 1 right now. Valantis will take the next turn, however, because of the slows across the board. We get a little bit of healing. Can we stun that more? More stunning is very important at this case. Can we do it? Big V, you definitely do need this stun right now. Stuns the Cigar. Cigar is still a very high value target as well. But the Moor is probably going to be the one that does enough damage. Curse of the Beautiful, how much can you land in heal blocks? We got only one heal block, and we have the Moor skill 2, which we have seen won quite a lot of damage. 2.2k, even though that's slow debuff. And that's probably going to take out that Nikki on that little bit of extra turn that we have right there. And this is looking very much like an uphill battle of Big V, because that Moor and that CP is just doing so much damage. There's so much cycling. And we can see quite some damage coming on, but we don't have the heal blocks being stuck. And therefore this Wajet is just doing so much healing as well. Getting a good amount of value on those stunners, but is that going to be enough? I don't know. We're going to see S2 probably landing on that Wajet. Can it stick on the Wajet? Does not stick on the Wajet. And therefore we're going to have a lot more healing every time that Wajet takes a turn. And the only unit we can maybe take out, and that is just a maybe, is going to be that Cigar. But it's still going to be very difficult. And this is going to be game for Truel, because I do not see how you can beat this uphill battle against the Wajet and everything next to it with so much damage that is just going to be there. And this is definitely going to be game for Truel. That's where we have it. We have more buffs coming in. Those are the buffs. Truel knows it with those buffs. With the more coming in next. More S2. This is going to do so much damage. Probably takes out the segment 2.6k. That's so much damage from a more. And that is definitely going to seal it. And that is definitely where we're going to have our victory in Truel. And that's definitely where you can check off one more on this checklist. Saying simply, we are, or he is, we are, whatever. I've been potatoes, whatever. True was the victory of today, and that is going to be his first victory on America's Cup. GG's to Truewell. Played very well. Wajet is just the strong unit of today. And every time he had Wajet on the field, it's just so difficult to deal with. And you can see Big V is not happy with that loss at all. However, he's still going to be representing America in the World Finals in Thailand. Coming in about 2 months, month and a half. And I know the European players are also watching this. Guys, good luck. You had the media weekend. I want to see some fireworks from you guys. Definitely prepare well. Gonna see something nice because I know all of y'all that made it to a Europe Cup are insanely great players. So definitely want to see something nice. And definitely also very excited to meet all of you. I still must say the suit of Wyckoff is slick as fuck. It fits. Reese, the newcomer, making it one round further. Very well played as well. And I think that's it, boys. We also have been live for 9 hours and 45 minutes. Thanks, guys, for being here for the viewer party as well. Always appreciate it. Thanks for being here before that, for the follows, for the raids, for everything. Always appreciate you guys being here.